Morning, 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 morning all. Daniela Williams, morning. Dexter Tweets, morning, sir. Anna Sisneth, morning, Anna. Ruckman Gangadine, blessed Sunday to you as well, Ruckman. Arlene Lewis, morning, Arlene. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning to you. Pauline is tuning in all the way from Tamarack in beautiful Florida. Yes, Tamarack is nice as well. Coral Springs, Sunrise, Margate. Felix Hospitalis, morning. Wazid, morning to you. Patricia Reed, morning, Patricia. Ruben Rogers, morning, sir. Jenny Herbert, morning. Neil Francois, always present, morning, sir. Clyde McKenzie, morning. Lennox Ramdani, from all the way from St. Madeleine, morning, sir. Gerald Pascal Manswell, morning. Althea, Leon Graves, morning, guys. Terrence Big Trini Cummings, morning, sir. Congratulations on your latest academic achievement. Well deserved. Alberta Sampath, morning. Let's see you. So Leon Joseph, Marge France, Annette Beard, Mikel, morning to all of you guys. Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Margaret Thomas, Daniela Williams, Alana Gonzalez, Denise Bramble, morning to all of you. Rude Trude, morning, the real Raga, morning, sir. Leon Joseph says the weather is overcast in Toko. Hot sun down on this side. We have on Facebook. Diane Charles. Morning, Diane. Deborah Etchell. Morning, Deborah. Good sunny morning to you as well, Carol. And we need some Toko weather down on this side. Carol, you finished painting? I know you didn't want the rain because you had some painting to do. I think this week we got some sunny weather. Gemma White Isaac, morning. John Edwards, morning to you. Elizabeth Allen. Theophilus Lockheed, morning, sir. Claire Carrington, morning, Claire. Marva James, morning to you. Patricia Lazare, morning. Christopher Serrat, Winston Jones, morning to you guys. Istra Blake, morning, Istra. Stephen Martel, morning, sir. Nadia Lewis Dixon, Judy Millett, Janice Matthews, morning to all of you. Marilyn Wanza Cloud, morning. What's this thing playing with me? Joyce Neves, morning, Joyce. Christopher Coffey, morning. Ruth Fronton, Philomen Green, morning. Alison Boyce, Phyllis Antoine, morning to all of you guys. Renwick Roberts, Ambrose Blanc, morning to you, sir. John Keto, morning. Ruth Trude, Winston Jones, Shelton Lewis, J Dimple 66, morning. Hi, Claudius Alexander, morning. Earl Turpin. Roxana, where you going? No, you know, I want to know what's going on with you. Yes, you're late. It's a good thing. A good thing class started late this morning. Angie Sherry, morning. Monica Julian, morning. Anne-Marie Rice, Peter Williams, Keith Marshall, Sheldon Pompey. C. David Tiller, morning to all of you all. Betty Lynch, Francia Panchu. Thank you for my brooms, Roxanne. Mindful Consumer, morning. Leon, I will let you know. I need to make a visit to Toko. It's been many, many years since I've been up on that side. Let's see what we have here. Right, so let me jump into it because I too am late this morning. You know, I left home earlier this morning to go to the grocery market, 12 by. The grass eaters came out in their numbers this morning. I thought everybody suffering on money and Christmas bleak. Not seeing that. Kerry Thomas. Roxanne says, Leon Joseph, see you Christmas. Hey, Roxanne, you tell me, are you planning Lyman thing? So, let me jump into it. So they had the march yesterday. I did not, unfortunately, I didn't get to catch a glimpse of the news last night. I was otherwise preoccupied, but based on one newspaper article that I'm seeing here, it says trade union members, politicians, and some concerned citizens heeded the call by GTAM to come out and stand with the unions and show their dissatisfaction with the government. While the chief grievance on the lips of many union members and politicians in attendance was Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's acceptance of the salary hike proposed by the SRC, Others lamented that the magnitude of issues facing the country should have drawn a larger crowd. So it seems there was disappointment with respect to the size of the crowd yesterday. You see, boy. That must have been a disappointment for Roger et al. But they're still complaining about the increase in salary. It's unfortunate, though, that union members aren't afforded the opportunity to be able to comment on the earnings or the salaries of the leadership of their trade union bodies, since the majority of the members have no clue, no idea how much of their monthly dues goes to paying salaries to these dinosaurs, right? So all you do is you see them driving these beautiful cars, these high-end expensive vehicles, which I imagine the union dues will also be paying to maintain and to upkeep. And it's not cheap to maintain and upkeep expensive high-end vehicles, right? So while you setting aside your little kakada every month, sending to union, hoping that when time comes, they will do what they need to do. Yeah, they live in high up the hog and only trying to fool all you and organizing march and all kind of thing. Okay. Right. Also present, NTA leader Gary Griffith said he too welcomed the invitation to come to the march, since he saw it as a way for the different political factors, or fractions rather, and organizations to bridge differences and seek to come together on a common cause. This is more than SRC salary review. This is more than 4%. This is the straw that is breaking the camel's back, and this can unify different organizations and political parties to do what we are here for, Griffith said, adding that the politician's job was to serve the people. In one word, Griffith defined the current situation in the country: enough. We are speaking about enough of the discrimination, the abuse, the incompetence, the mismanagement, and total lack of respect by those in government. All righty, everybody trying to. And then we have PM salary hike amid rising living costs. Economic analyst, obscene and unjustified. Economic analyst Indira Sajiwan Ali has called Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's decision to accept a salary increase as obscene, citing pain in the population over the cost of living as well as a lower standard of living at this time. You know, I'm sick and tired and fed up of these people, right? And why the media continues to run to them for comment is beyond me. But then again, the media has an agenda, right? They have an agenda. They're not fooling nobody. And they continue to couch this thing as if Rowley take a pay hike and Rowley take a pay hike and the Prime Minister take a pay hike, as if nobody else getting a pay hike beside the Prime Minister. The leader of the opposition, she too jumped on the bandwagon, but she stands to get perhaps the largest increase, because as the CPO, Mr. Dindial, would have pointed out on one of the morning programs this week, that the Prime Minister's salary increase is not 47%, but closer to 24%. And he went on to define what the Prime Minister's salary will be made up of. And he pointed out that as it currently stands, the Prime Minister, aside from his salary of $59,000 a month, or let me not say the position of Prime Minister, right? The office of Prime Minister, part of the remuneration package is a base salary of $59,000 and change. And the office holder, the position of Prime Minister, also carries with it a duty allowance of $9,000. That's whoever sitting in the chair, right? So they need to stop making this thing about Dr. Rowley and Dr. Rowley. So aside from the $59,000, whatever basic, you get an additional $9,000 duty allowance, among other things. And the point that Mr. Dindial was making is that this duty allowance has now been included as part of the Prime Minister's base salary. So there is no longer a base salary and then a duty allowance separate. This $9,000, which the Prime Minister has been receiving as part of his remuneration package for the last how many years, has now been added to the base salary. So it's now incorporated into the base salary, right? So the real increase that the Prime Minister is not, that the additional money the Prime Minister is getting or would be getting, whoever is the Prime Minister, is not, as has been put out there before, 20-something or whatever, 27,000. It's actually works out to $18,000 more, not 27, because 9 of that 27 he was already receiving the office holder was already receiving as a separate benefit. And that duty allowance has now been done away with, so there's no longer any duty allowance. That 9,000 has been incorporated, right? And the Prime Minister is now receiving an additional 18,000. But of course, they want to put some licks on Captain Dindial or whoever for that, because he coming to the Prime Minister defense and all of this nonsense. And the people who continue to have issues with that, and I want to ask them, so you find the Prime Minister shouldn't get a pay raise, because 4%, and notwithstanding the fact that the government has tried all how to explain to people, this is what we can afford. So it's 4% for a particular period, and then the new bargaining period, we're starting at a base of 5%, and we could negotiate from there. 5, negotiating from there, right, for the new 3-year period, as the case may be. Mr. Dindial also pointed out that, in fact, the last time that parliamentarians and persons, not just parliamentarians, but persons who fall under the SRC, the last time they got a pay raise was actually 2011, right? 2011. So it's been 13 years since they would have last gotten a pay increase. So they are working on 2011 salaries, as opposed to the 2013 that some people are still working on. And he was also making the point that for the period 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, there is a wage freeze, so that there is no pay increase for these office holders from 2014 to 2019. That period there will be no increases there. So any increases that they will get is from 2020 come forward. These things the media wouldn't focus on, right? But if you say the Prime Minister don't deserve that salary and whatnot, I want to ask, what salary should the Prime Minister receive, aside from the duties that occasion his office? What salary should he receive for having to endure the abuse every day? And the name calling that he's a pedophile, he's a rapist, father was a rapist, that he's an absentee father, that he abandoned his children, his wife on him, impugning the wife's integrity, stating that a woman who has been nothing but a pillar of virtue, a woman who has largely remained out of the limelight, unlike some other people, some previous prime minister's wife who saw it fit to sit down on the lap of a boxer. Remember that? This lady has worked so hard, built her career, built her reputation. Right? She don't owe anybody anything. Half the time when her husband travels, she ain't traveling with him, and saving the taxpayers' money and so on, right? Because he's going on official business. She has her career, she has her work to do, and she cannot be gallivanting and joyriding all over the place, if they want to call it that, as certain people, when they were prime minister, their sister was doing at great cost to the taxpayers, right? If she has her clients to attend to, she has to go to court and see about matters related to her clients, so she doesn't have the facility to be able to jump on a plane every time Dr. Rowley is going away to go with him, just to be an accessory. Right? But to have her reputation and integrity sullied by people who making claims that she was having an affair with a special branch officer and all of these things, and being the pillar of virtue that she is and so on, she make no fuss about it. She take the abuse, all of the claims that they were making and stuff, all the nasty things they said about the woman. She take it because she understands it comes with the territory. So how much should her husband be compensated, or what should he be paid for that aspect of it? Right? All these nasty things, making claims that he fathered a set of twins with some woman down in Diego Martin and all of these things, and that he have some red couch in the Prime Minister's residence, and you have to go down some corridor and you pass 2 parrots and a dog, and when you reach inside it have a red couch, and when you go there, the women and them that he's have inside it, they spread out on the couch and all kind of thing. And then allegations that he made appointments, the female ministers of government whom he appointed only got those positions because they had to give him a peace and sexual favors. All these things, you see, we tend to overlook that part of the nastiness, right? That part of it that the Prime Minister has to endure every day. People saying these dirty things about him, when it is that the UNC and the fully done supporters making memes with human feces and dog feces and impose the Prime Minister's face on it and all of that, right? All that. No regard for that. How much should he be paid for that? So when it is that somebody decides to leave their good job in the private sector where they remain private, nobody knows them, and they're earning salaries significantly higher than the prime minister, the president, and all of that, and government ministers, and all of the other perks. So they get better perks than members of government, members of parliament, right? Some of them working in state enterprises and earning better pay than the line minister and the prime minister and so on. They should leave their good job to come and become politicians to do what? Subject themselves to that? How much should a minister be paid to have to endure every day the supporters of the opposing party calling you a small pin, saying that your private part's small, that you're taking man, you're the minister of man, and you like boys, and questioning your sexuality and so on. And when your family, your children going to school have to be enduring the embarrassment because people outside there saying all kind of nastiness about your parents that is untrue. How much should they be paid for that? All of you all who complaining, oh, we're working on 4% and they only give you 4% and whatnot and stuff. You all have to endure that. No, you could go to the office, you could walk the streets normal. You don't have to endure your integrity and your reputation being nasty and sullied in that way. I read, but I will touch on that at another time. Right, an article which speaks to former NATUC president, I think James Lambert, talking about productivity in the public space, in particular in government offices, and saying don't blame the workers if they're not productive, blame the supervisors and blame the managers, because if the worker come to work and they're doing their work, as the supervisor and the manager are supposed to make sure they do their work. When you applied for the job and you sent out your resume and so on, and you came and you did the interview and you promised the sun, the moon, and the stars, and you would be the best worker if you get the work. And then you get a job, and then you realize the status quo, and you just slacking off. You're supposed to come to work for 10 to 8. You're reaching to work 9:30, and when you reach to work 9:30, you're strolling in with a Starbucks cup in your hand and soda and smoke herring, and you had to go and sit down and have breakfast. And the public sit down in the waiting room waiting for you to come to your desk so they could get a business done. On countless occasions, I have encountered that. Sitting down, I reach there early because I don't want to encounter no crowd. And you're sitting down waiting for the door to open to get into the space. And you're seeing people walking in after 8 o'clock with breakfast in their hand. Or when you finally do get inside, the person who's supposed to be doing what it is you come to do, well, that person is reaching yet to know. They come in just now. They come in just now. Hold on. 9:30, 9 o'clock. Where is the reprimand for that? The fact that it happens all the time. But you see, when the supervisor doing it and the manager doing it, you can't reprimand anybody under you. You setting the example. When lunch is 1 hour and you go for 1.5 and 2 hours and you stroll back inside and nobody telling you anything about it. And you telling yourself, well, I'm working for 4%. I only get 4% pay raise, so what the hell? It is what it is. And you have Lambert had the audacity to talk about, no, don't blame the worker. Don't blame the worker at all. Blame the management, the people who are supervising them. Big men and women need to be supervised to do their work, to do the job that you know you're supposed to do. Really? Your appraisal should show that, should reflect the quality of work that you're doing. And that's how we'll talk about that another time. But as I said, ministers of this government, we've had the Minister of Education, nasty people on that side, and the likes of Anil Roberts and others, and all Roberts just have to do is put it in the public domain, and then the fully dunce running with it. Oh, the Minister of Education having an extramarital affair with the Prime Minister, and she with Foster Cummins, and Foster Cummins huffed the Prime Minister, and all kind of nastiness like that, and Mrs. Rowley has to be enduring in that. And she puts up with it. All these things, when there was all over the place, the same thing Mr. Manning had to endure. They gave Mr. Manning a whole love child. Well, remember that? A whole love child they gave for Mr. Manning. Man, I know nothing about that. How much should they be compensated for these things? Or is that? Yeah, that's just part of the cost. So it's okay. Right? When Dr. Rowley up and down the place going to negotiate gas deals and all of these things that former Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar never did. Where is the credit for that? For that work? The results of which we will see in about 2 to 3 years when the gas start to flow. Even now, with Donald Trump coming into office, the Prime Minister hasn't let up. He didn't throw his hands up in the air and say, well, we tried. That's it. Gas deal dead. No, they continue to make overtures and with the Democrats and the Republicans in order to ensure that in about 3 years' time, that the coffers, Trinidad and Tobago's coffers, would significantly improve. I am certain that if Dr. Rowley could have had gas flowing from since 2016, 2017, 2018, he would have done it. No credit for the efforts that he would have made to bring Sandals here, even before he was Prime Minister, right? And if it is that we didn't have a set of dumb citizens who like to jump on the propaganda bandwagon today, we would have been earning foreign exchange, at least from that perspective. We would have had more tourists coming to Tobago. The largest Sandals and beaches resorts would have been in Tobago. Tobago could have boasted about that. They can't do that because they don't have that and probably never will. Who knows, maybe sometime in the future, Sandals might cast their gaze on Tobago once again, Trinidad and Tobago, and remember that there's a country called Trinidad and Tobago that once expressed interest in having one of their resorts located here. Right? And maybe when the citizenry get more sense, they might decide to come back. Who knows? But for now, that is not on the cards. But you ever give Prime Minister Rowley credit for that? All the while he was working on 2011 salaries, but when he was doing those negotiations, where were we? When we sleeping in our bed in the night, and he is in Europe negotiating with the heads of BP and Shell and all of the different time zones. So when is morning there and it's nighttime here, and we sleeping sound and snoring, and he out there doing the work. Where the credit for that? So we don't talk about that. But the minute, Rowley fix himself, and it's 4%. You feel the Passad Bissassa comes in that she's going to give you all 14? No, because the same economic circumstance, the same treasury is what you're going to encounter. And you know what you will hear for 5 years? Well, we want to give all 14, We wanted to give all 14, but Rowley and them mash up the economy, and Rowley and them squander the money. So we don't have the money, and we can't afford to give all the 14. But we wanted to. And for 5 years, we're going to hear blame Rowley and blame the PNM. And that's why we can't give you all what you deserve, because we just don't have it, because Rowley and the PNM, and they mash up and they do this and they kill the economy. But yet still, all over the country, drive around and see new businesses opening, new malls. I see some Mall of America opening now in Chaguanas. Right? They have a branch in South, and now they bring in a branch to Central Trinidad, as if Central Trinidad don't have enough traffic. Some Mall of America. Drive down, I keep telling you all, the Nasalura Maya Road. Drive down there and see. When I was going down last week, when I told you when I had to go down that side with my sister, and she hasn't been down that way in a bit. And she was surprised at the amount of development that has taken place on that stretch of road between the Ministry of Agriculture going down to Price Plaza. When all of that happened, when that opened, it's so long I ain't come down here. But the economy on the brink. Economy suffering. Meanwhile, Anita again congratulate my good friend, Tahaka Obika. You all know that before, I suppose some licks on Tahaka when he was in that other place, right? Because I felt, that his talents were not being fully utilized there. And there were times when I felt that perhaps, he was misguided also. But he has seen the light, having come across to this side. And right now he is in Africa, as I told you all, promoting brand Trinidad and Tobago, doing the things that the manufacturing sector should be doing, right? So the latest video I saw he posted, I think it was yesterday, showing where Lake Asphalt, Lake Asphalt, the pitch lake that the fully duns have been telling us the government sold to the Chinese. Nothing could be further from the truth. But yes, Lake Asphalt is now setting up operations, setting up an office in Africa, I think is in Togo, where they will be looking to sell asphalt and asphalt-related products on the African continent. Tahaka Obika is out there pushing that. Yes, he's out there doing that, right? But we diversify and diversification. The media talking to Tahaka. You see them publishing anything on that? So he has to be putting it on his social media page for people to see, but they ain't sharing that. Nobody interested in sharing that. We're not discussing that. That's the work that one man is doing, right? To promote the country. Everybody else seeing value in Africa. And Samakal decided they're going to set up shop there too, with their brewery and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is work is being done. No credit for that. No credit for that. Things that this administration has accomplished. But again, the government had to take some licks for not highlighting the things that they have done. And a lot of people are upset and saying that the government is not deserving of a pay raise because they have done nothing in the last 9 years, when a lot has been done, but the people just don't know. And perhaps if we had done a better job of helping the people to know and see what has been done, you wouldn't have such pushback. But anyway, the developing story today, and that will be the developing story in the coming days, is that Dr. Rowley will not be offering himself for screening to contest the seat of Diego Martin West after 33 years. I mentioned to you all last week, Sunday, that among the last set of seats or constituencies that the party has to screen for are the Diego Martin seats, Diego Martin West, Diego Martin Central, Diego Martin Northeast, right? Diego Martin Central, of course, is now held by Simon de Nobrega. Diego Martin Northeast, Colman Burt, who has indicated that he's interested in one more term. He would have told this to Rhoda Barrett at an interview that he did with her a couple of weeks ago, that he wants one more term. He has some work he needs to finish up, and then he will call it a day. So he is prepared to leave in 2030. All right? But Dr. Rowley, who has been hinting since 2020 that this would be his final term, it seems that that is a done deal. On the front page of today's Guardian, Emery tipped for Rowley's seat. Foreign Affairs Minister to screen for Diego Martin West gets party leaders' blessings. All right? So, after serving as MP for 33 years, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley will not be screened by the PNM for the Diego Martin West seat in the 2025 general election. Instead, informed sources have told Guardian Media that Senator Dr. Emery Brown is set to re-enter electoral politics and screen for the Diego Martin West seat with Dr. Rowley's blessings. And if successful in the general election, Dr. Brown, who is presently the country's Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, will replace Dr. Rowley as MP for Diego Martin West. When asked yesterday about his potential screening, Dr. Brown responded, "I will update you on this in the not too distant future, at a time that I am deemed appropriate. Be fully assured that I remain keen on contributing to the future of our country and the party." Dr. Rowley, 75, did not respond to a request for comment from Guardian Media yesterday, and both men have given the public hints about their future with the party over the past 2 months. Goes on to say, let me see. So that basically, yeah. Well, there's a whole article, but I think that basically sums up there. So it seems all but certain that Dr. Rowley has decided to bid farewell to politics. Let me see here. Right. So let me get this here. Right. So in light of that, I mean, that obviously is going to put a spoke in the UNC's wheel, because for the last how many years everything was Rowley this, Rowley that, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, Hines must go, Hines must go. Well, Hines going and Rowley going too. So what are they going to do now? How do they respond? So it is now up to the PNM faithful to get it right with respect to Dr. Rowley's replacement as leader of the party, right? Because Emery Brown being seemingly the heir apparent for the Diego Martin West seat, that does not mean that he will become political leader of the party. All right, that is a decision that has to be made. Don't know how they're going to do it. It's interesting to see, because it means somebody has to lead the party into the next general election. And even if Dr. Rowley does so, should the People's National Movement be successful at the polls within 2 to 3 days or 2 days after the election, somebody has to be sworn in as Prime Minister. And it is the person who, as the law says, commands the support of the majority of the members in the lower house of those who would have been successful at the polls. All right. So whether they're going to put an interim leader, I don't know, but the next few months appears to be very interesting. Now it puts the UNC on the back foot, because you say Rowley must go. All right, Rowley going. You want Hines to go, Hines going. Okay. And there are lots of people who would tell you, well, I like the PNM, and with Rowley I have a problem with. Well, okay, Dr. Rowley is going. You didn't like Dr. Rowley for whatever reason, because you're somebody who subscribes to propaganda. Well, he is going. So what are you going to do now? All right. There are people who tell you, yeah, we love Penny, we love Emery, we love whoever. Well, okay. So if you were planning to sit out the election and now it seems all but a done deal. Dr. Rowley will be departing. Let's see how that progresses. All right. But for now, that appears to be the situation going forward. Meanwhile, on the other side, the misleader of the opposition, who seems to be, courting a wheelchair, who always has to use everybody close to her as a human crutch, depending on which day of the week. So I don't know, sometimes it seems as if she doesn't come to Parliament because she needs to rest up for 4 or 5 days out of the week so she could gather enough strength to be able to attend one meeting, one Monday night forum. So to be able to have enough stamina, she had to charge the batteries now. And her batteries will probably take longer than everybody else's. So she needs to charge for 5 out of 7 days. So when she have a Monday night forum for the rest of the week, she shut down. Yeah? Plug her in and she does their charging until the next meeting. Dr. Rowley don't have that problem. Right? But she don't want to go anywhere. She figured that she have enough stamina in her to go for another 5 years, not just as leader of the opposition where she hardly has any work to do, hardly does any work, but you want to come back for another 5 years as prime minister, when this current prime minister has shown that the workload of prime minister is extremely heavy and burdensome. You could barely walk, but you want to come back for another 5 years to do what? The first 5 years that you were there, you wasn't doing the work. You figured that the job of prime minister is to smile, cut ribbon, unveil plaque, turn sod. She could barely lift up a shovel now to turn sod. So what you're really doing? What is the point of that? Do take example and leave. But then again, stay, at least for this election, right? Everybody always running on a hat trick. I think she should do that too. She would be the only prime minister with that former prime minister or party leader with that hat trick of 3 consecutive losses. So stay right there, Mr. Spasal Bisasa. You don't go nowhere. We will pray for you to get enough stamina to be able to last till the election. God knows you need it. Anyway. So folks, so this nonsense continues with respect to this Piarco Airport, right? And the thing that amazes me with the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, one word, confused. Confused. The fact that this thing continues to be a headline story, and the media every opportunity keep posting headlines with respect to the minister. So I'm seeing on page 6 of today's Guardian, Imbert misled the population on Tobago Airport overruns, analyst, right? And they have it in big and bold. The reality is that the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, the majority of them couldn't care less, right? Because it doesn't impact their lives in any way. The fact is, this is a major project that is supposed to benefit, first and foremost, the island of Tobago, which is in desperate need of a modern airport. Desperate need of a modern airport. All right? When you look all around the Caribbean, you go to Barbados. Barbados has a nice modern airport. Barbados has a population of 285,000 people. When you go to Guyana, Guyana has a population of 800,000 people. They have a nice, clean, modern airport. You go to Antigua, they have a nice, modern airport. Dominica is in the process of building a nice modern airport because their airport, based on the Caribbean countries that I've been to, perhaps most closely in size and amenities, perhaps most closely resembles Tobago's airport. You want an airport that has space, for instance, duty-free. You'll see Tobago's duty-free. Come on now, man. It's a joke. It is a joke. And when people come, foreigners come to the island, whatever it is, this is another opportunity to earn some additional foreign exchange. Yes, you like the little rustic thing, but come on, we need to move with the times. If you want to promote Tobago as a tourist destination, you need to have a facility that can accommodate more airlift, more flights, more airlines. And if, based on what they currently have, you could only accommodate so many big planes at a time when it is that you have to drive the stairs out to the tarmac for people to come down and so on. In this modern day, whenever rain falling, you have to wait, sit down on the plane and wait until the rain eases up, and then you could come down. You're walking from the plane to the terminal. You could slip and fall. the country, the government would be liable for lawsuit and all this kind of thing. So the government saw the need to construct, after all these years, a modern airport, which up until last week, the people of Tobago had no issue with. No allegations of corruption. All of these analysts and so on who want to put in their 2 cents, their 4 cents, their 50 pence, all of a sudden they have plenty things to say. And whom in both misled and all of these different things. But where were these people? Where were these people all the time? Right? Nobody had an issue with it, as if cost overruns is something new in projects, major projects of that type in Trinidad and Tobago. As if that is something new. This is something that happens. We had COVID. We understand there would have been delays because of COVID. It's not just Trinidad. Dominica's airport was held back too because of COVID. You had issues. The prices of things went up because of short supply. The world economy shut down. Manufacturing around the world had also, well, not shut down, but in light of the fact that you didn't have as much demand, they would have somewhat shut down. But at the end of the day, these things happen. The price of steel went up, which was one of the main things. Imagine reporters in that press conference last week. I mean, really? Come to ask the minister about why they're using so much glass in the airport, and if they're not concerned about the birds. And the birds will be coming in and they will slam into the wall, into the glass and whatnot. You all know the Piarco airport, right? The waiting area when you're waiting to board the plane. In that whole section, glass. The same thing for those of us who have been to Tobago and we have seen the new airport. It's the same concept with respect to the glass. So all of a sudden, all you're concerned about the birds. So for the last how much years, you're not concerned about the birds in Piarco airport, but you're concerned about, you see, the stupid little things that they want to come up with. And you have people latching on to that dotishness. It's ridiculous. Every little thing. Tobago stands to benefit. More tourists. Farley went all the way to England and boasting about this new airport and telling people, come to Trinidad, come to Tobago. We have a new airport under construction that will be able to accommodate more flights and so on and more passengers. Come. He rated it up and went to the UK and rated it up. But today, Passad Bisasa bumping Hagam, the UNC bumping the gum about it. Where is Farley? Where is Farley to defend it? All these allegations and claim about substandard work and all of this foolishness. Where is Farley to come out and tell them, listen, this is for the benefit of the people of Tobago? What he more concerned about telling ambassadors that he intends to take their fight for Tobago's autonomy to the world, and he will be looking to them, the ambassadors, to assist his government in achieving that autonomy that they're looking for. So he planned to go to who? To the UN, the United Nations, and whoever else to complain that central government in Trinidad don't want to give you full autonomy. Half, 3/4, maybe 90% of the residents of Tobago have no clue what Tobago autonomy is all about, because you're hearing everybody have different perspectives on what it should be, how it should look. You all notice Watson Duke was the man pushing the separatist agenda prior to them coming into office. All of a sudden, he quiet. He who was talking about secession and Tobago, and we don't want no chief secretary chopping this in Tobago. We want prime minister, and we want customs, and we want this and that. All of a sudden, my boy back down. When last you hear Watson talk about that? He's not interested in that anymore. He said he wants to be prime minister and kingmaker, and still telling himself he could get the 2 seats in Tobago under the PDP banner and be able to negotiate next year. And that one of the negotiation points would be he would have to be prime minister if you want my 2 seats. But he ain't talking about autonomy. He's not interested in that anymore. Now he's interested in cohesion. But after he created this monster that is Farley, and Farley wants to take this thing to the extreme, and he has people who are latching onto that, and they have been able to frame this thing in such a way as if to say central government in Trinidad, which is controlled by the PNM, is discriminating against Tobago, and they are against Tobago's self-determination and all of that. Maybe CNC3 should probably go to Tobago and walk the streets and ask people under there what the people say segment. So what do you understand by Tobago autonomy or self-determination? And see what the people will tell you. They have not had any meetings to say we will explain to the people what we're talking about. This is what we're asking for. They always like to call for referendum and so on. Has there been any consultation? I hear Fali talking about there hasn't been enough consultation. The government hasn't consulted with enough with the people of Tobago. The last time these bills came before the parliament, there was consultation. The opposition came and said, oh, we can't support that because not enough consultation. Camille Robinson-Regis said, here, we'll tell you one more consultation, no problem. We will put it back out there. We will go back out and we will have the meetings and so on for another 2 weeks as the case may be. The meetings were held, and if 5 people show up, that's plenty. If 10 people show up, that's plenty. So if the people themselves are not interested in the consultations, that the forum is being created for them to come and say their piece and say what it is you expect, and they're not showing up, what you want the government to do? Go to every house and knock on every door with a clipboard and paper in hand. So what would you like to see in the autonomy bill? Right? Door to door, house to house. Do that, right? When you have an open forum to come and state your piece, they're not interested in that. But Fali's still coming and talking nonsense that there hasn't been enough consultation with the people of Tobago and not enough consultation with the opposition. Fali, miss us with that rubbish, please. Miss us with that. So, members of the public, some members of the public, just like with this $2.6 billion nonsense, have latched on to this. And it amazes me that the leader of the opposition or the misleader of the opposition has come out with this thing, right? And she figures an aha moment and talking about cost overruns and so on. It is important to note that she has not been able to identify anything with anybody taking any kickback, any minister getting any bag of money, anybody thieving any money. Her supporters will talk that stupidness and say the cost overruns is so that they could thief and all of that. But she has not put that in the public domain that anybody get any kickback or anybody get any bag of money or anybody thief. Just come to tell you that they're wasting public monies because of incompetence. You've had cost overruns and delays with respect to the project. And this issue has drawn the attention of the media. Since last week, Monday, when Prasad Bisesa talked that talk, almost every day they're publishing something on that, right? And she has claimed that the overruns is about $400 and something million, almost $500 million, almost $500 million. And for that, the media feels that they need to post something every day on that $400 and something million cost overrun. But they haven't gone to the contractors to find out, well, exactly, could we get an itemized list of where has the cost overruns taken place? With respect to exactly what? Is it in the cost of the steel, in the cost of the material, the consultancy fees, whatnot? Let's get the breakdown so we can advise the public. They're not interested in that. So Prasad Bisesa say something and they take that as the gospel and they run and print it. And then the Minister of Finance now has to call a press conference to debunk what it is they publishing that Prasad Bisesa says. Because apparently if she say it, she come a document and she read out. I want to revisit something here, right? Again, to show you how something wrong with the citizens of this country. And as I always say, less is more. Less is always more. Let me read this again, because anyway. Housing Ministry probes $800 million in Ghost House. $800 million. Last I checked, 800 million is more than 419, more than 500 million. So we're closer to $1 billion with 800 million than we are with 400 and something million cost overruns that Prasad Bisesa is telling us that this is so egregious and that we need a police probe, right, into these cost overruns. She calling for police probe, and then eventually you're going to hear talk about commission of inquiry. So let me read this again. This is the article dated the 13th of the 10th, 2023. The Housing Ministry is investigating issues from 2011 to 2015 concerning ghost houses costing $789 million, which taxpayers paid for. So the money was paid, and for which the physical structures cannot be found. A probe is also underway into a missing $180.5 million on the repayment of a loan. So when we add 789 plus 180, right, we closer to $1 billion. We crossed the $900 million figure. Housing Minister Camille Robinson-Regis spoke on the issues during Thursday's 2024 budget debate in Parliament. She said the issues were cited by KPMG, the auditors of the Housing Development Corporation, in a 2013 audit report. Robinson-Regis said one of the bugbears of the state enterprises has been the inability to complete audits, right? She goes on to say, She said the auditors have only just concluded several years of audits because in many cases, in many instances, we got qualified audits because things were not found that were claimed and money that was said to be existing was not existing. And so we had to get a number of qualified audits. What was more alarming was the inability of the auditors to verify the existence of housing units allegedly constructed to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars during 2011 to 2015. Robinson Regis quoted from KPMG's 2013 audit report. The corporation has not prepared a comprehensive inventory of its housing units available for sale. There is an unanalyzed sum of approximately $789 million, representing cost of housing units that could not be attributed to identifiable physical structures. The auditors further state, we were also unable to obtain underlying documentary support for a sample of the construction cost. Consequently, we are unable to perform audit tests to ascertain the accuracy and the existence of the reporting inventory. Robinson Regis said, so what this means is that there were buildings allegedly constructed, but they could not be found. So the taxpayer paid for ghost houses. That story didn't even get 1/10 of the attention from the media that this issue about the Tobago airport has been getting. Camille Robinson Regis made this declaration over a year ago. I didn't see members of the media running to all these analysts to ask for comment. But no, all analysts, they know every hole that they're in to run and ask them for comment with respect to the Tobago airport. At least Mr. Imbert would have come out and attempted to give explanation and so on 2 occasions based on what he saw. This story that I just read from was published as a front page on one newspaper, right? Only one newspaper saw it fit to make that an issue. And it was published on that one day as a front page. People read it, and that was the end of it. No public discussion. The media didn't see to give it legs as they want to give to this issue here. 400 and something million claim in overruns, but Mr. Imbert has since indicated that it is far less than that, right? More than less than half of that figure. But the media given that legs, refuse every single day they publishing something, and this got one day press. 800 million, but apparently, as I always say, less is more, and more is less with them. So 800 million is less than 400 and something million dollars. Where's the public discussion on that? All these people, 400 and something million cost overruns, this government incompetent and so on, but you're not concerned about where 800 million by $180 million went. You're not concerned about that. And all the people who love to jump up every time they hear things, accusations against the PM will tell you how much hospital beds that money could have buy, how much hospital it could have built, and how many schools it could have built, and how many school feeding meals it could provide. They always could tell you all the alternatives that the money could pay for. But almost $1 billion cannot be found. Houses can't be found. The money cannot be found. No big issue. No issue. In light of that article coming out, unlike Mr. Imbert, Prasad Bisesa didn't see it fit to call a press conference to address the matter and to clear up any public concern with respect to that. The man who was the Minister of Housing at the time didn't see it fit to call a press conference. They have ample opportunity. They waste their time Sunday morning press conference. He never addressed it on that forum. They have the Monday night forum. They have the pavement report, and then the occasional press conference that they would call midweek. They did none of that to address that issue, right? They stayed quiet, which is uncharacteristic of Rudal Munilal. Because you all know, anytime allegations are made, I'm quick to jump up. You have plenty to say about EMBD. He filed his defense yet? I don't know. The media care to find out? No, they don't. Put it out in public domain and they leave it so. So let the public stand in the shoes and wonder. No press conference, and the media hasn't seen it fit. Did they contact Munilal for comment? Did they contact Prasad Bisesa for comment on that? No. So that story just dead and gone. And to hell with that. And the majority of the public probably don't even know about it because they don't buy newspapers. So they see that as a headline, they pass it on the street and newspapers lay out and they pass that straight. And because it did not get the type of public attention that it should have, because the media chose to forget that and bypass that, it's not important. But then again, I had to blame the party too. Because if it was the other way around, the UNC would have made a mass with that. They would have beat that like a rented mule. The minister raised it. Right. And that's that there. That's that. Nothing else to come from that. Yeah. Next. On to the next. So while this government has to now be on the back foot, having to defend this and defend that and come out and minister having to give statement, UNC get away scot-free with that. 800 million. And you have people talking about putting them back when they have to explain to us where that money went. But we have no explanation as citizens. It's your taxpayers' dollars going in there that you're working hard for. And when you get a pay slip at the end of the month and you see PAYE and you're griping how hard you work, sweat to make that money, and a chunk of that had to go to the government, and then it end up in people's pockets. At least with the airport, with the overruns, we could see a building. We're seeing something. We see where the money was spent. Yes, extra money was spent, but we're seeing, all right, yes, this cost a little more, but I see in a building. 800 million. I can't see one house. Not a sheet of galvanized. I can't see not even blocks, a bag of cement, nothing. Nothing to show for that. But we all over the place and we've X 400 million in cost overruns. And you had things you could see and touch and feel. Yes, more money was spent for it, but at least I seen it there. But almost $1 billion. Where? You could tell me where I could find that house? Is there a development? Because that money could have built several housing developments. You could point me to one housing development where I could find that money, please? Just one? No, sorry. The auditors came and they went all over. So could we go and see at least a couple of these houses? Well, if you find it, let us know now. Because we can't find it neither. We don't know nothing about it. Wait a minute. We don't know. Well, if all you don't know is what we tell, what we need to what to go and look for it, they do exist. So where the money? Beats me. You all have any vouchers to show where the money? Can't find that neither. But the Auditor General wants to come and tell you about couldn't provide documentation to support the claim of additional revenue. What did the Auditor General have to say about this? And how is it? How is it that it is only in 2023 with an audit, internal audit, that we are able to hear about this? So what was the Auditor General doing in 2013? What was the Auditor General doing in 2014? What was the Auditor General doing in 2015? Right? When these houses were supposed to have been built and weren't built. How is it that the Auditor General didn't pick up on that? How? But we have to find out 10 years later about this. And you know what the fully dunce will say? Rather than hold the party to account 10 years later and only now bringing that up. Why the PNM now talking about that? Why they didn't talk about that before? So long they're in office and they only now talking. That is a distraction and a distraction. But I bet if they were to come out, if the UNC were to come now and tell you about something that happened under Mr. Manning, oh yes, the fully dunce will talk about that. That was since 2008, 2006. Yeah, PNM corruption, you see, they will talk about that. They want to ask, so how come the UNC didn't realize that when they were in office between 2010 to 2015? Why they only bringing that up now and Manning dead and gone? No, they ain't going to talk that talk. They ain't going to talk that talk. Anyway, let me get this. Before I get to Mr. Bachelor this morning and Emailgate, right? I'm going to touch on Prasad Bisessa's history with respect to defending public monies. As Prime Minister, when she was in charge and she had the power, she called in for police probe now into cost overruns at the airport and all of that. But there were several things that took place under her as Prime Minister for which she called for no police probe. There was no post-cabinet press briefing as Dr. Rowley would do when things are in the public domain that sullies his, attempts to sully his administration, and he will call a press conference to address it. She didn't afford us that. Case in point, Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell, who is now a judge, I believe she's an appeal court judge, right? When she was Solicitor General under Prasad Bisessa as Prime Minister, and she saw, right, documentation and so on, which gave rise to the belief that there was some questionable activities taking place under the office of the Attorney General with respect to public monies, taxpayers' money. They like to use that term, being paid out to the tunes of millions of dollars, right, in legal briefs. When she questioned, certain cases where you have prisoners and so on making claims that they were beaten by police and beaten by prison officers and the like, and these matters were being, one, appealed for more money, and as soon as judgment hand down, the the relevant bodies under the office of the Attorney General ready to pay, ready to make out check, when that is unprecedented. When Ram Logan came in, all of a sudden, briefs that the state had for him for years, everything just came due and he get paid, right? When it was reported that he was buying all of these properties all of a sudden as he become Attorney General, properties in Maraval and other areas of Port of Spain and the like. And they asked him, so where did money come from? And he said, well, as you know, the state has been owing me a number of briefs for a number of years. And now that he's Attorney General, he's the man who could give the authorization to pay. He said himself to himself, pay me. All them briefs, all you owe me from long time, I'm in charge now, so pay me my money. No conflict there. No need for recusal. He could do that. And all of a sudden, himself paid himself. And so he had money to be able to purchase all of these properties. So easy. All right? But when Donaldson Honeywell saw certain things untoward taking place, and she decided, listen, I'm not going to write to the man who is above me, who is the Attorney General, because I am concerned. There may be concerns or reason to believe that perhaps he's aware and maybe he's making a contribution. So let me not do that. Let me bypass him and go straight to the Prime Minister, believing that the Prime Minister would cause some sort of probe to take place or some sort of thorough investigation to take place. So if there is any wrongdoing taking place, it would be unearthed. That is what naive Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell thought would happen when she sent this letter, this missive to the then Prime Minister. What happened? Unlike what Mrs. Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell was hoping would happen, the opposite happened. We recall the leader of the opposition, then Prime Minister, who is now the self-appointed defender of the public purse. She has committed that she's going to go after every penny that this government has stolen. All the money, taxpayers' money, we will get back every cent. She wasn't interested in getting back monies that were stolen under her. What did she do? She sent a letter back to Ram Logan and say, investigate yourself. Now, me have time for that, you know. I don't have time for that. You fix that, clean that up. No press conference, no call for probe, nothing of the sort. Then we had Stacey Rupnaraine, who wrote to her expressing concerns on behalf of the board of NIDCO in respect of the QREP interchange and possible interference by the subsequent line minister, who was Surojratan Rambachan at the time, and concerns that the board had that the minister was seeking to interfere. Ministerial intervention, which is interference, which is tantamount to misbehavior in public office. And some of these board members sought to intimate their concerns to the junior minister, Stacey Rupnaraine, who perhaps, based on what was told to her, was convinced, and so convinced that these concerns may have been well-founded, that she didn't go to Suroj to ask him, well, here now the board saying so and so and so and so, well, we could clear this up. No, she wrote to the Prime Minister under the cover of confidentiality, telling her what the members of the board told her, and she's seeking the Prime Minister's intervention again to defend the public purse. Did Prasad Bisesa call for a police probe? Did she call a press conference to address the issue? No. What did she do? She sent the letter to Suroj, investigate yourself, you deal with that now. I don't have time for that. I fed up tell earlier. My work is to get up late, jump in helicopter, cost taxpayers millions of dollars in helicopter rides, land in the Queen's Park Savannah where the official vehicles would be waiting for me. I jump in the back seat. They drive 3 minutes around the Savannah and take me to my office. And I sit down in the office for an hour or two to pretend like I'm doing work. And then I leave. Right? And I might go to the Prime Minister's residence and loll off on the couch and we'll talk and blag with Vidwati and my nieces and nephews who live in the Prime Minister's residence where I should be at taxpayers' expense. And when I'm tired, if I feel to take a sleep there, otherwise, right, when the helicopter come back, land in the Queen's Park Savannah, they pick me up, they drive half a minute, right, or 1-2 minutes around the Savannah, or if they find that drive too long, they stop the traffic and then they just drive right through the Savannah there. I jump on the helicopter and they take me back home and I go and I sleep until the next morning and eat, sleep, drink, repeat. At Parliament, depending on how I feel when I get up in the morning, I will decide if I'm going or not, you know. Gary told us about 5-day weekends. But that's what she did. Tell her, I don't have time for that. Stop interrupting my schedule. I don't have time to be calling press conference and having to field questions from media with respect to alleged corruption in my government while I do all the wrongdoing, make sure they cover it up good. See, spare me now. Right? That is the woman who wants to be the prime minister again. But today, all of a sudden, when she was prime minister, when it came to alleged corruption and cost overruns and so on, she wasn't concerned about the public purse. No, she wasn't concerned about defending the treasury because her eyes and her ears had cataract and glaucoma. She wasn't seeing or hearing corruption. She wasn't seeing or hearing cost overruns. No. But all of a sudden, now, mere months before a general election, the scales have been moved off of her eyes and her ears. And she has 20/20 vision. She could see clearly now things that she couldn't see as prime minister. I am not aware. I am advised, always advised, never informed about anything. But today, she have the answers to everything and she's defending. And the media complicit, supporting her in this foolishness. But let me remind all you again of another project. I hope Bachelor listening, right? You all may choose to forget these things, that I won't. Let me remind all you. Just give all you here, right? You remember a project called the Beetham Wastewater Treatment Project, right? That cost over $1 billion. That the company that was selected bid over $400,000 more than the second company that had years of experience. They win. Not 1 day of experience in building wastewater treatment plants. All right. Before I go there, I'm going to read this. I'm going to show you something. Statement by Minister Ramnarayan on Beetham Wastewater Plant. This is a statement he made in the parliament, right? And he posted it up, so it's on the UNC's website. Dated Friday, March 14, 2014. Mr. Speaker, NGC and WASA entered into a memorandum of understanding to work together for the construction and commissioning of a water recycling plant in the vicinity of the existing Beetham Wastewater Treatment Plant, with the objective to supply water for industrial consumption to the Point Lisas Industrial Estate. The genesis of this collaboration was initiated between National Energy, a subsidiary of NGC, and WASA since 2005, entitled Partnering for Successful Development and of Development of the Energy and Water Sectors in the Interest of Sustainable Development. The water recycling plant is an initiative designed to recycle wastewater to industrial standard and used to supply to the Point Lisas Industrial Estate. The Beetham Wastewater Recycling Plant will provide 10 million gallons of water per day to Point Lisas, right? Yada, yada. I want to show you something, right? The RFP process, which is the request for proposal. The process of this RFP was conducted in strict accordance with the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago Limited Tenders Rule, Procedures and Standing Orders 1998 for the supply of goods, works, and services, and for the disposal of unserviceable and surplus goods. The process was conducted in accordance with the two envelope system, whereby bidders are required to complete and submit separate packages, envelope A, technical proposal, and envelope B, financial proposal. And this two envelope system facilitates selection of suitable proposals through a systematic process, such that only financial proposals from bidders that demonstrated suitable technical competence are assessed. Let me repeat that. This two envelope system facilitates selection of suitable proposals through a systematic process, such that only financial proposals from bidders that demonstrated suitable technical competence are assessed. Prasad Bisesa has been questioning the competence of a number of companies working on the airport in Tobago, right? The highest overall score is the best bid, and it should be noted that the one with the lowest overall price may not be best suited. The following is a summary of the process from issue of the RFP to the award of contracts of this project. And then he goes on to give dates and what happened and so on. There is something, where is it? Let me see. So, where is it? Timelines. Okay, I don't want to touch on that. Right. Key determining factors for award of tender. A 6-member cross-functional team from within NGC's group was convened to evaluate the proposals received. The evaluation team evaluated the proposals received independent of CPG. However, as required, clarification and advice was sought where necessary from CPG. Who is CPG? So CPG was a company that would have developed the evaluation document, right? And they would have used as one of the subsidiaries KPMG. Let me get this here. I want to make sure because I'm going somewhere with that, right? NGC retained CPG Consultants Pte Limited, an international firm with expertise in water recycling, to undertake a technical feasibility study and assist in developing the request for proposal and an evaluation methodology. CPG also secured the expertise of KPMG to assist in this project. That is very important. I understand I'm going somewhere with this. Let me just read that one more time. So NGC retained CPG to undertake a technical feasibility study and assist in developing the request for proposal and an evaluation methodology. And CPG also secured the expertise of KPMG to assist in this project. So the whole document, all the document, everything that they would use to go through to evaluate, this was developed by CPG in conjunction with KPMG. So they went through the process and whatnot and stuff. So let me come back to this. Where is it? Key determining factors for the award of the tender. A 6-member cross-functional team from within NGC's group was convened to evaluate the proposals received, and the evaluation team evaluated proposals received independent of CPG. Why independent of CPG? If you hired CPG to do certain technical things and they develop the evaluation document, you would think they would be part of the evaluation team because they would understand best the criteria for evaluation, right? However, as required, clarification and advice was sought where necessary from CPG. I'll tell you all just now how they secured that advice. The evaluation team was guided by the predetermined evaluation methodology, the 5 stages of which was provided to tenderers in the RFP closing. A summary of the main determining factors are as follows. Here it is, right? How they selected SIS. The following are the main reasons SISL, together with subcontractors Foster Wheeler and Hyflux International, bid was recommended for the award of the contract. SISL scored 77.93 in the technical evaluation, 54.55 out of 70. SISL complied in main with the plant design proposed in the RFP and actually provided a superior design. SISL proposed a superior pipeline methodology. SISL submitted a superior construction program. SISL information submitted on reverse osmosis pumps were of superior quality. SISL proposal has greater local content. SISL design team has extensive membrane plant experience. So they just went on and talking everything superior, superior, superior. Then they went on to talk about the other company, which is Atlatech, and they told you the same things, right? And why Atlatech wasn't successful. Comparison of costs. In-house estimate, 149,999,000 US. SISL bid 167,755,000, right? Which is about $28 million US more than Atlatech. Atlatech bid 95, than the in-house, bid 95,224,000. SISL renegotiated, came down to 162. So they bid 167. And then they were able to come down to 162 million. How? A whole 5 million US off? I wonder how. Maybe somebody tell them, well, yeah, what now? Atlatech bid 95 and your 160 something is over the in-house estimate, so you need to adjust the figure. How did they come about that? What did they do? All right, take off 5 million now. We got T5 million less. You okay with that? All right, we're good with that. Come with 162. After considering the determining factors above, the evaluation team determined that Atlatech's bid contained significantly below market value elements, which are subject to higher levels of variability of prices. And also in post-bid clarifications, Atlatech noted several areas where they may seek to revisit the price submitted, for example, changes in global steel prices and soil conditions as previously mentioned in the report. So even with their wastewater treatment plant, SIS as well identified and said, here what? We could stick with this price unless the price of steel goes up, in which case we had to come back to earlier for a claim for additional monies. Didn't steel prices go up at the start of this project in Tobago? They were okay with it with the Beetham wastewater treatment plant. Oh yes, but they had no issue with it. But they have a problem with it now in Tobago. I continue. In conclusion, SISL's bid package received the highest overall number of points and offers the best technical and financial advantage to NGC. NGC therefore obtained the approval of the Management Tenders Evaluation Committee and the NGC Board Tenders Committee and NGC's Board of Directors to award this contract. What they left out in this that they posted here on UNC's website, and that was in the original report, is the fact that when the Tenders Committee met to assess the bids using the evaluation document that was created by CPG in conjunction with KPMG, there was nobody from CPG or KPMG sitting on that evaluation team. And you would think, as I said before, that if these people design the package, we should at least have one person from this company sitting on the evaluation team. So if we have any issues with any of the criteria, they could explain it. On 2 occasions, while they were assessing these bids, there were certain criteria which nobody on the evaluation team could explain or understand. You know what they had to do? That's right, stand down, go outside, pick up the phone, and call KPMG and CPG and say, hey, what now? We're going through the evaluation and we came across this this criteria, so. But we don't know what that means. You could explain that to us? And KPMG had to tell them, well, okay, this is what it means, so. All right, go back in the room, right? They say it means this. Okay, we understood. And then they're going through it again. Hey, we bunks up something else again. Call them back and ask them what this means now. Yeah, we call them back from NGC again, the evaluation team with respect to the wastewater treatment plant. It have another criteria here that we don't understand. You could help us out again? Yeah, I know it would make sense to have Wallace sitting here in the room with us to go through it so that you all could assist us where we fall short there. But you know how it is going on. So yeah, you can help me out, you can explain it to me. There are plenty to remember, but here, just now, let me put you on speaker. I'm going to put you on loudspeaker now so everybody else could hear. So I wouldn't have to go and explain to them, and then next thing I mix everything and I get it wrong. Ask yourself why they didn't have anybody from CPG or KPMG sitting in that room with the evaluation. That eventually led to SIS, a company that has no experience whatsoever for wastewater treatment plant within the contract, over a company that had years of experience. You see, when you want to do bubble and you're not sure, you ain't going to bring in the independent people. You're not going to bring in the people who will tell you, hey, what is really going on here? The only way we could get the bubble passed, we had to leave out the people who have integrity. So we put together this team, we had to do what we had to do. The media ever talk about that? No. Prasad Bisasa ever talk about that? Nope. Going again. Let me get this here. Where is it? We'll just touch on a couple things. SIS gets $200 million mobilization fee, while Beetham Wastewater Plant Agreement states no advance payment. Right? The agreement says no advance payment, but you give them an advance payment of $200 million. The media ever talk about that? Did Prasad Bisasa call for a police probe into that? How a contract that states no advance payment because the company is supposed to have the finances. Remember, they submitted a document to the Tender Evaluation Committee stating they have the financial wherewithal to handle this project, right? They have the money in place, so they don't need no upfront nothing. And you were selected because you submitted a document that had information claiming you have the financial wherewithal and access to monies to start this project. You won the bid based on that. And then when time to start the work now, you come and ask for $200 million mobilization fee. I continue. SISL, the company contracted to design and build the billion-dollar wastewater recycling plant, has already received $887 million in payment for the ongoing project. At the end of the first quarter of 2015, the project, which is expected to be handed over within the next 2 months, right, was 66.1% complete. However, according to documents showing payments from NGC to SISL, seen by the Sunday Guardian and based on calculations by one SISL project insider, the contract has already received over 86% of the total fee for the project. According to the documents, the project was officially awarded to SISL on April 22nd, 2014 and carried a rigorous 18-month construction schedule. According to documents received by the Sunday Guardian, the Beetham Wastewater Recycling Plant is expected to be completed by September 2015, but carries a 21-day proving period, so actual completion of the project is not expected until October 21st, 2015. The contract also stipulates that SISL must operate and run the plant for a further 5 years with no major hiccups because it is fully handed over. President of NGC, Indar Maharaj, has since denied Warner's claim in a brief text exchange with the Sunday Ride. When pressed further about the status of the project, Maharaj directed all questions to his corporate communications team, Raja Sant and Shameen Mohammed. The Sunday Guardian then emailed the pair with the following questions. Has the contractor been paid in full for that project, as Mr. Warner alleged? If yes, is it customary for contractors to be fully paid before a project is completed? How far along is the project? I understand it was broken into phases. Can you see what phase the project is currently at? Sant responded saying that the office was currently closed and he would not be able to furnish any responses until next week. But the Sunday Guardian has since received fresh evidence that while the Cuba-based company did not get the full $162 million, as stated in the contract, they have already pocketed $87 million for the project to date. And SISL has been paid more than US $170 million at the end of the first quarter of 2015. And this is in addition to the initial mobilization fee of US $32 million or TT $206 million paid when the contract was first awarded. From March to May, SISL also submitted 3 invoices to NGC of just under US $9 million apiece. And while the latter 3 invoices submitted are in keeping with the stipulated payment schedule, the Sunday Guardian found that there was never any agreement for the massive 20% mobilization fee. According to the contract documents, SISL was not supposed to have received that US $32 million first payment. And while the financial correspondence between NGC and SISL shows the $32 million that was paid in April of 2014 had to be returned to NGC, financial documents from the first quarter of 2015 indicated it was not repaid to the state company up to the first quarter of 2015. Did Prasad Bisesa raise any issue? Did that require a probe? Did she call for a police probe into that while she was prime minister? And you have a contract that says no upfront fee was to be paid, but somehow somebody authorized 32 million US over 206 million TT dollars to be paid to this company. And then you're hearing here that they were supposed to pay it back, but up to the first quarter, the end of the first quarter in 2015, it was not repaid. And they're talking about 66% of the project completed and to date, unfinished. And when this administration came in, we find out it wasn't 66, but in fact, 45%. 45% complete, right? With more than half the money paid. I continue. According to the documents seen by the Guardian, there were no, according to documents seen by the Sunday Guardian, there were no consultants or third-party oversight on this billion-dollar project up to the end of the first quarter of 2015. No consultants. No third-party oversight. To ensure that the work is being done in the way that it was supposed to be done. To ensure that the work is being done up to standard and to a quality that is expected. Had none of that. But you want to come and tell you, oh, the airport in Tobago, that the government is rushing it and they want to do a soft opening or something so in the first quarter of 2015. And this is against the recommendation of some company that they hired that said that you should hold off on any soft opening until you have testing and all of that. I continue. This also raised serious concerns regarding the testing of the pipelines, water output, and other aspects of the project. So the same thing she wants to come and tell you, oh, the airport and they want something, and the contractor says, the consultant, at least it have consultant and the Piaco and the, I keep saying Piaco, the Crown Point, Tobago Airport. It had no consultants on this project. None. Right? No consultancy, and this project cost more than that project. But she come in to tell about testing and quality, and they fire CEP because CEP didn't want to be a rubber stamp for because they were trying to rush through the project and so on, and CEP didn't want to rubber stamp anything in the absence of testing and all of that. But the Beetham wastewater treatment plant, which cost more than the airport, when she was prime minister, she had no concern about testing. I will repeat that. According to documents seen by the Sunday Guardian, there were no consultants or third-party oversight on this billion-dollar project up to the end of the first quarter of 2015, and this also raised serious concerns regarding testing of the pipelines, water output, and other aspects of the project. Contract violations. You hear that word? Violations. I hope Bachelor listening. SISL led a 3-company consortium which includes 2 foreign subcontractors, Foster Wheeler and Hyflux. The contract necessitated 34 kilometers of 36-inch pipeline running from a base in Point Lisas to the wastewater treatment plant in Beetham, Port of Spain. According to the layout plans, the pipeline will need to pass over several watercourses, including the wide Caroni River. The Sunday Guardian learned that the contract called for horizontal directional drilling, which is a drilling under the river to bridge the banks of the larger watercourses. But SISL insiders have confirmed that the company has decided to bypass that option after attempting to source a local company to assist with the HDD aspect of the job. Last September, Sunday Guardian reported that SISL had approached several local companies seeking additional expertise to complete the HDD portion of the agreement. Utilizing HDD to span the watercourses is in keeping with local and international environmental regulations. So you submit a bid document claiming you could do this job. You get the contract, right? Because they assessed you and everything superior. And you get the contract and you can't do the work. And so you calling all around here now. We're looking for somebody who could do this. You know anybody here? You all could do it? No, you can't do that. No? You know anybody? Sure, call so and so now. All right. Hey, here now. I just called so and so. Tell call boy. We have a contract, $1 billion contract here, and we have a certain thing that we need to do. And we put in the bid document that we could do this, but we have the expertise so that you can help you out. This is what they're telling you here. You calling around, you get the contract, you collect $206 million TT dollars and calling around to see who you could find to do the work. Prasad Bisasar, when this was published in The Guardian, did she call for a probe? Did she call a press conference? Did she express concern about taxpayers' money, cost overruns, contract violations, breaches of contract? I continue. By February 2015, reports surfaced that the EMA had stopped SISL workers from backfilling land in the Caroni Swamp, as several workers were seen emptying hundreds of crocus bags of sand. Workers emptying hundreds of crocus bags of sand. Does that sound like a professional outfit to you? Hey, guess some fellas, we have some crocus bags of sand to empty in the Caroni River there, boy. See we can round up. There was no information forthcoming as to whether this work was completed to the BWRP project, but an SISL insider has told the Sunday Guardian that the company is no longer pursuing the HDD option. The HDD option that you put in your contract document stating you could do and would do, and that you bid for that, and you say that project would cost X amount of money, we agree to pay you for that, and then you decide to abandon it. So the money that you bid for that, what going on up? We continue. The SISL proposal indicated that 2 reinforced concrete storage units should be installed at the Point Lisas end of the pipeline project. Sunday Guardian, however, has discovered that instead of the reinforced concrete tanks that were stipulated, SISL has installed cheaper steel tanks. Cheaper steel tanks. But your bid to put in reinforced concrete tanks, but then you decided you're going to go with cheaper steel tanks. So I pay you for concrete reinforced tanks, but you decide you're going to use cheaper steel tanks. You ain't ask me if I'm okay with that. You haven't given me the opportunity to assess how effective that will be, because the cheaper. The reason why I went with the more expensive option is because I have confidence in that. But you now decide that you're going to use the cheaper steel tanks, which could cause problems for me later on the road. And then I had to find the money when problems develop to fix that. Did Prasad Bisasa call for a probe into that when this was published? Did she express concern for taxpayers' money? As she's doing today? Did she come to tell us, give us the details about cost overruns and all of these breaches that are taking place here that jeopardize the project? I continue. The Sunday Guardian also received a copy of the December 2014 Beetham Wastewater Recycling Project Water Quality Report sent among the consortium companies, in which Hyflux indicated that the water quality from the Beetham Wastewater Treatment Plant will impact the BWRP's ability to meet its own output parameters. The SISL then requested a detailed report from Hyflux, which was sent by February 4, 2015. In response to information in that report, SISL then instructed Foster Wheeler to cease all activities related to the CO2 and lime dosing aspects of the project instead of addressing Hyflux's concern. So Hyflux tell earlier, based on our assessment, this is a problem that we're likely to encounter. And what does SISL do? They receive the report and say, oh, no, forget what I'm saying. We care about that, you know. We behind time, we behind, we need money. So bypass that. Bypass that. If the People's Partnership lose, that is the PNM problem to deal with down the road. Did Prasad Bisesa, in reading this in the Guardian, call for a probe? Call for police probe? I continue. And this was published 2014, right? Let me make sure I get the thing here, right? When this was published in the Guardian. So she was still Prime Minister. Seeing all these things taking place. Did she intervene? Did her minister call for a finance, call a press conference so he can answer questions or facilitate the media to ask questions on the project? Did her Minister of Works and Infrastructure, her Minister of Energy, anybody call a press conference to be able to answer questions and clear up what is written here? I continue. Just a moment. But I will tell you why the Minister of Finance didn't call a press conference. This has now raised serious concerns about the final water quality output for the plant that is to be delivered to the government. The Sunday Guardian made 3 attempts to reach SISL Chief Executive Officer David Lumsden, but was unsuccessful as he was out of the office for the rest of the day. Now, people understand the significance of this, right? Here it is that you have one of the subcontractors is telling the main contractor, look, based on what we've seen here, this could cause problems with the water quality and the output going on the road. And them say, what the hell with that? Just forget that. Now, when it is, if they had finished the project, you send in water to Point Lisas for the industrial estate to use. And if there are issues with the quality of the water or any issues that could affect the operations of the people's equipment in Point Lisas, right? Because they're thinking, hey, the water is good. We could use this water, not knowing that the quality of the water and certain things in it is impacting your very expensive plant machinery. And you getting problems. I don't know what causing that, because you ain't thinking that they cut corners with respect to this project, and the water that you're getting here is not of the quality that is required for your plant. But them didn't care. Prasad Bisesa reading the same thing I read in here. She didn't call for any police probe. I continue. Where is it? Finance Minister out of project. When contacted about the payment schedule for the project, Finance Minister Larry Howard would only say that the funds for this is not coming from his ministry, and he also advised the Sunday Guardian to contact either WASA or the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, or the Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Ganga Singh. Several attempts to reach Singh on his mobile phone on Friday yesterday proved unsuccessful. Industry stalwarts weigh in. One construction expert described the industry norm for the award of large-scale government projects. At the start, there is an advance of 10%, which has to be fully guaranteed by an approved bank or insurance company. After a grace period of, say, 3 months, the advance is paid back over the next 4 months by equal deductions from monthly certificates. The advance is then fully repaid after about 7 to 8 months after commencement. Never is a contractor paid ahead of the work done. Rather, it is always in arrears within 56 days of the monthly billing as certified by the independent consultants, he added. This makes SISL the exception to the industry rule, as more than a year after the mobilization fee was paid, there still has been no repayment from the company to NGC. Did Prasad Bisesa call for a probe? She was Prime Minister. Did the line minister call for a probe? Did the Minister of Finance call for a probe? And this billion-dollar project, the cost of which was more than what was to have been spent on this airport terminal? No, not that I recall. Nothing here. I am advised. I am unaware. I will ask the minister for a report. But today, she had no concern about this. This project that is still incomplete, that is overgrown with grass. Millions paid. The main contractor hop on a plane and gone to Panama. Right? And he living the life in Panama for your taxpayers' money. And the woman who led the government that facilitated this today remains quiet on that. Just as she remains quiet on the $800 million in houses that cannot be found, the $180 million loan that they don't know where the money went, what it was for, she has said nothing on that, called for no probe into that, but telling you put her back as prime minister so she could give you another one like this. I know what's even worse, the hypocrisy of these people was that when this matter was raised in the parliament, right, when question was put to the then Minister of Public Utilities, Robert LaHunt, and Mr. LaHunt, where is it? I have that here too. Make sure. LaHunt, no hope for wastewater plant. Although close to $1 billion has been spent on the unfinished Beetham wastewater recycling plant, Public Utilities Minister Robert LaHunt says the project may never be completed. It's $1 billion, he told reporters, following yesterday's commission of the Savanetta Booster pump station. The minister said completing the plant would also cost taxpayers an additional US $250 million. Additional to the billion already spent. An additional US 250 million. Multiply that by 6.8. So over another billion, he is telling us to complete this project. So the cost, the final cost would be double or more than double the original cost. That is not cost overrun. That is not a cost overrun. He said if the project is restarted, it could end up costing the country $3 billion for an increase of 10 million gallons of water per day, making it unfeasible in the current economic climate. And he said his ministry believes it can get 10 million gallons of water per day for an estimated 200 million TT dollars. It was an ill-conceived project. Therefore, that was a project that the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago lost $1 billion on, and that money could have been used in a number of other areas. The cost to complete is astronomical. The agreements to put in place to take the wastewater are not in place. Therefore, if you want to get 10 million gallons of water, there are a lot more economical projects which you can embark on to be able to provide that water. And then Rudal Munilal had the unmitigated gall and the effrontery to come in the parliament and say, well, it could just cost another $500 million to finish. The government could finish the project, but they don't want to do it because it was a UNC project. What is another $500 million to finish it? Nice small thing, man. The thing done start already, or they might as well finish it. Just $500 million. And the fully done supporters have no problem with that. You know what they focus on? What Munilal say, the government don't want to finish the project out of spite. Not how much extra money it is going to cost. Not the fact that they knew upfront SISL was not able to do this project. But somehow they were able to pass the tender evaluation process to be awarded the contract over a company that had years of international experience. And the consultants who created the evaluation criteria were not invited to sit in on the tenders committee or the evaluation committee. Questions must be asked why. But of course, these things don't cause Prasad Biswas any concern. That doesn't warrant police investigation or police probe. That didn't warrant the prime minister or the line minister coming and make a statement to the media. Right? You have all this money at stake and the media is telling you they're trying to reach the minister in charge, the minister responsible, and he not answer any phone. And that is that. So when we add the how much billion, over $1 billion for the Beetham wastewater plus 800 million, 700 and something plus 180 million, so 900 and some odd million with respect to the missing houses and the loan, we're at about $2 billion. That the fully done's not interested in. Keko the PNM will never put out a post about that. Oh, they're so care about the treasury and the country. But no talk about that. No meme about that. Where is the PNM meme reminding people of these things? Where is it? Non-existent. But you know what? You're going on TikTok and people talking about the airport. $800 million in houses can't be found. That has never been a conversation on TikTok. Persons of all different ages doing video telling you why this government must go and this government this and the thiefing and the whatnot. 2-point-something billion can't be found and they're unaccounted for. That is the discussion. Where is the parallel? And people who say it's not, this has nothing to do with tit for tat. This is me telling you. If you're telling me the PNM ain't no good and the PNM must go, and the only alternative to the PNM is a party that would have meted out even far more egregious acts, right? Billions of dollars wasted. Today, the country's exchequer account is in permanent overdraft, not because of anything Keith Rowley did. That is what he inherited. he inherited an exchequer account that is in permanent overdraft according to the Minister of Finance. Thanks to who? The shenanigans of a government led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who has never sought to explain, who has never shown any remorse whatsoever for having done that. And they don't talk about that. All they come and do is lie to the public. And they choose their battles carefully. So they know what to put in the public domain, and they know what the media will latch on to like rabid dogs and run with that whole week. Whole week. So I wouldn't be surprised if in this coming week, Mr. Mbud has to call another press conference to debunk other things. Because in the last press conference he had a couple days ago, when it is that you had Kijan Haynes giving certain calculations, and Mr. Mbud had to be telling them, no, you're not supposed to add that. You can't include that because that is here and whatever it is. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. But the minister shouldn't have to be doing that. Have we heard from NIDCO? Have we heard from anybody else? But here it is, they're running to the analysts now to ask questions. Another project, Live Sport, that went from $6 million to $400 million. Right? Eventually, Kamla Persad-Bissessar had no choice but to shut it down. Not because she wanted to, but because she was forced to, because of what was in the public domain, and she could deny no longer. But you know what's worse? Is the fact that when the audit committee, the Central Audit Committee, which falls under the Ministry of Finance, and under the Minister of Finance, the man who they paid $11.625 million to leave FCB to become Minister of Finance, he stands by the Central Audit Committee's report and the contents therein, which points out to wanton corruption and wastage in that project, right? He said that. He stands by his audit committee, and everything that is in that report, he says, hey, I endorse it. Yes, I'm part of the government, but I'm telling you, this is what happened. He never denied it. Two of the people, Ashwin Creed, and I can't remember the other guy's name, Ashwin Creed was the permanent secretary, and who was named in this report as having played a hand in this bubble and corruption. They took the report, they challenged the report in court on the basis that they were not given an opportunity to respond to the allegations and claims within that report against them, right? That their rights to natural justice would have been infringed because they were not given an opportunity. And they are seeking to have this report suppressed until such time as they are given an opportunity to peruse the report and to make any responses to claims made against them, which is fair. So they took the matter to court and challenged it. The court was never invited or asked by the claimants to pronounce on the contents of the report. In other words, the claims made, the allegations made of wrongdoing, they never asked the court to make a determination to say, this is a lie, this is false. They asked the court, right, to intervene on the basis that they were not given an opportunity to respond to the said contents of the report and to defend themselves. And the court agreed and said, here what? You all need to go and do over the report, the Central Audit Committee. You don't need to do over the part with all the evidence and information that you have in there, right? You need this report, you need to amend this report, and the new report must contain the responses of these two men and anybody else who is so named in the report and who feels aggrieved by the contents and who are saying that they have explanations for the things that you have in here. So I'm not telling you, I am not making any judgment on what you have found. Your findings, we have not interrogated that, so the court is making no pronouncement on that. What the court has been invited and asked to do is to make a judgment with respect to these men, their right to natural justice, right? Their right to be heard. And we are telling you, go back, give them the opportunity to be heard and include in your report what they said. Anil Roberts come to tell you, he vindicated. The court said that the report was fraudulent and that the report was a lie and that the report was this and that, and the court quashed and dismissed the report. And Persad-Bissessar come and tell the same thing, that Roberts has been cleared and vindicated. And that was the basis on which she went and performed her political necromancy and resurrected him from the political cemetery. And today he sits in the parliament in the upper house, right? A smear, a scourge on the upper house with his nastiness. So she come and lie and tell all, yes, the report was fraudulent, but when she stood up in the parliament and read out the contents of the report, she had no doubt about its contents. She did that. She put it, she read it into Hansard. and told us about all the corruption that took place with respect to that. And then you come and lie to the population and say the court said that the report was fraudulent. But the man you paid millions of dollars to, who was in charge of the audit committee, say he's standing by that report. There's nothing wrong with it. And the court never pronounced on the contents of the report. And this is the type of lies that they continue to put out there. And this bald-headed lout continues to say these things, ably supported by that individual, that dishonest woman who wants to be the prime minister of this country again. Very dishonest. And because the average citizen would not go and read and do the research, they take what she says as gospel. Yeah, but look, the court squashed the report. She shut down the project. So convinced was she that it was rife with corruption, she shut it down and promised these young at-risk youth, don't worry, we will provide you all with something else. We know that you have been depending on this project, this program, so we will provide you with something else. Something else never came. From 2014 until they left office in 2015, something else never came because they couldn't give two hoots about them young African at-risk youth in Beetham and Laventille and wherever else the project was. When they were killing each other in Evergreen and Karapo, she couldn't care less. Murders abound in W. Mirror. To date, W. Mirror continues to have challenges because of that tenure of that disgusting man as member of parliament. And every single PNM person who went and dipped their finger and put he in office, you all are to blame for that too. You all contributed to that and put that nastiness in office. And for the 4 years that he was there, he wreaked havoc on what was an otherwise peaceful constituency. Today, the remnants of that nastiness continues in the W. Mirror constituency, where people are losing their homes because certain elements walking into the house and put them out. Tell them, hey, you don't even know, we're taking this. And when you go to the police tell them, they can't do nothing because they will just come back and terrorize you. You value your life? Yeah, start over. You see that type of thing happening when the PNM is in office? PNM don't encourage that. Over 76 murders in W. Mirror because of what? Box drain contracts. That is how they were keeping the criminal element at bay. Feeding them money, get them box drain contract. So they quiet. Right? They're robbing people because, hey, the state feeding them. But they're killing each other because when one man get a contract for 250,000 and the next one get a contract for 500,000, the 250,000 man find he should have get a bigger contract and he want a piece of the 500,000. What we do? You know, willing to play game? Bullet. Corn for you. And today, all over the constituency, I have a set of box drain contracts, box drain projects. The box drain starts in the bush. It ends in the bush. Makes no sense, right? The water, the way the box drain was done, so it going uphill. So the water had to climb uphill to be able to go wherever it had to go. So it can't do that. So it just settled. Mosquito, right? And they're proud to say, they used to call us the box drain government with good reason. But all these things were happening. She called for police probe. We're going on with prison gate. We are at the end of 2024. 10 years now, we were told that they were in the process of wrapping up this investigation. 2 lawyers accused of cutting and pasting witness statements and defrauding the state. 10 years later, the police still investigating. They've had murders and other crimes have been committed within that 10 years. Man, police solve the crime. People come before the court. But 2 lawyers accused of cutting and pasting. To date, 10 years later, not an arrest. The officer, the police officer, senior officer who was in charge, he long retired. I don't even know if he's still alive. But the police still investigating. But no questions. You fully done saying talking about that. But they will talk about email gate. So let me entertain Mr. Bachelor this morning. But before I go there, I will just mention all of them who have issue talking about, oh, Rowley had to get back pay. Rowley going to get a back pay of almost $1 million. Tolian studying the party that you all want to put back in office to replace Dr. Rowley and his government have one man who is before the court for defrauding the taxpayers of Not $1 million, $1.4 million in taxes and other duties related to the purchase of a multi-million-dollar Mercedes-Benz that he's alleged to have purchased for the benefit of one of his friends who has deep pockets and could afford to buy that vehicle. But somehow they thought, hey, well, I go buy the vehicle, take advantage of the perks, $2-point-something million for this vehicle. Take advantage of the perks. Rob taxpayers of $1.4 million, and you're like yourself, man. And it's just not the basic model we're buying. Buying the pimp out model. We want all the trimmings, everything. You must have the best GT wagon it have. The best one out. You must have it. I will buy it. And I will rob taxpayers $1.4 million, but we have a issue with Rowley getting 900 and something thousand in back pay. 25% of which he has to pay back to the government in taxes. So they behaving as if he taking home all of that. Because chunk of that going back to the same taxpayers. So he ain't going home with it. He's not going to enjoy it. Big chunk of it has to go into taxes, income tax, which he pays, contrary to popular belief that government ministers don't pay any tax. Rubbish. They pay income tax like everybody else, and in most cases, they're paying a lot more than plenty of you all who griping. Some of you all who today are no longer paying income tax because of the same Rowley that all your hate and cussing, who decided to increase your personal allowance 3 times, so you're either paying less taxes or no income taxes whatsoever. You didn't have that privilege under Prasad Bisesa. Plenty of all you who the PAYE section of your pay slip for the last how much years has been reading nil every month. Yeah, but we want 15%. So we could get back to the point where where we would see a figure next to PAYE every month. And when we get the back pay, a chunk of that back pay going into income tax. All right? But plenty of you all will not be paying any income tax whenever you get your back pay. Again, thanks to the same Keith Rowley and Coleman Burt, who increase your personal allowance so that you could collect your full back pay and go home with every penny, and the taxman not going to collect 1 cent. But we don't have that conversation. We're not having that conversation. So let me treat with Winston quickly in the interest of time, right? So let me read the report that Winston probably missed. Get this here. The Office of the DPP, July 5th, 2019, addressed to Mr. Harold Phillip, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Police Admin Building, the corner of Edward and Sackville Streets in Port of Spain. You know where that is, Winston? Email investigations referred to the Commissioner of Police by letter dated May 20th, 2013. The subject that caption refers. We have perused all documents forwarded to us by the TTPS relative to the above and have arrived at our conclusion based on several factors which are set out in detail hereunder. On the 20th of May 2013, the opposition leader, now Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, in a contribution in Parliament, produced a document purporting to represent emails emanating from or passing between the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, the then Attorney General, Mr. Anand Ramlogan, the then Minister of Local Government, Dr. Suraj Rambachan, the then Minister of Housing, Dr. Rudal Munilal, and then Special Advisor to the Prime Minister, now Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith. On the face of the purported emails, these high office holders appeared to have sent email messages to one another during the month of September 2012. If proven to be true, the purported emails reveal a criminal conspiracy in which persons named above would have taken part in an arrangement to free Ishwa Galbaransing and Steve Ferguson, financiers of the People's Partnership who were the government in power, from charges locally and from being extradited to the United States of America to face charges there. The purported emails involved inter alia the intimidation of members of the print media, spying on the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and attempting to remove the Director of Public Prosecutions from office. This would clearly be evidence of misconduct in public office on the part of government officials mentioned above. In the case of the Attorney General's reference number 3 of 2003, EWCA Criminal 868, the elements of misconduct in public service was stated as being where a public officer, acting as such, willfully misconducts himself to such a degree as to amount to an abuse of the public's trust in the office holder, such acts being done without reasonable excuse or justification. It is a matter of public record that Dr. Keith Rowley indicated that he had received the purported emails from an anonymous source 6 months prior to May 2013, and that he had forwarded the purported emails to the office of the president. Dr. Rowley also indicated that he received no response from the then president in respect of these emails, and therefore introduced them into the parliament on the 20th of May 2013. On the same day, the Honorable Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, then Prime Minister, forwarded the emails to the Commissioner of Police for investigation. This would mean that the investigation commenced 6 months after the purported emails were received by the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley, and 9 months after the month in which the purported emails were apparently generated. By correspondence dated the 3rd and the 10th of June 2013, a member of the TTPS investigative team made a request of TSTT for preservation of relevant data. On the 20th of June 2013, the said investigator also wrote to Google Inc. asking that the relevant accounts for the period September 2012 be preserved by Google Inc. It cannot be overemphasized that the request for preservation of the relevant data was sent approximately 9 months after the date in which the purported emails were apparently generated. It also cannot be denied that this factor had the potential to affect the outcome of the investigation. You hear that, Winston? Let me repeat it for you. It also cannot be denied that this factor had the potential to affect the outcome of the investigation. You know what that means? That 9 months after the emails were allegedly sent, the request was made for preservation order. And it is possible that because of that time span, that the email messages could have been deleted. And therefore, even if we make an attempt, it is possible we may not be able to get these emails from Google, Microsoft, or whoever else. This is the deputy DPP writing this, right? Because the DPP's name get called up, the DPP, the substantive office holder, he get called up in this, so he couldn't preside over it. By correspondence dated the 16th of July 2013, Google Inc. indicated that information regarding the subject accounts could not be provided to the police investigators in the absence of legal process. I hope you're listening. In other words, all you want the information, you need to get a warrant, my friend. We ain't just giving you that just so. Thus, the TTPS were required to gather evidence of occurrences which were contemporaneous with the events of September 2012 in order to ascertain the authenticity of the emails and also establish a foundation of probable cause, which is required in order to succeed in an application for a warrant to the United States Court to search the servers of the internet providers in the US. So let me break it down there for you, Winston. TTPS wrote to Google saying we're conducting an investigation and we need access to the emails sent from this account, that account, that account for the period September 2012 to so and so and so and so. Google tell them, oh, okay, no problem, but you have to get a warrant for that because we're not opening ourselves to no lawsuit. So you know what to do? Go and get a warrant and check us back. We'll come again. So the police now, to get this warrant, had to gather evidence to satisfy a judge in the United States of America that a crime may have been committed. Not just hearsay and propaganda. You need to convince me, this circuit court judge, that there is, as the term they have here, probable cause. You have to come good. This judge is not from Trinidad. He has no horse in the race. He don't know about PNM and UNC, Manning, Rowley, and Kamla. He don't know about that. You don't know about them people. So he is not tainted in any way. He is operating on the basis of US law, and he's telling you, bring evidence to me. So the police now had to go and read out these emails and see if anything in these emails actually happened to strengthen the case for a warrant. That's what that is saying. It is also noteworthy that notwithstanding the apparent form and structure of the purported emails themselves, their content, when matched against evidence of the prevailing circumstances in Trinidad and Tobago in September 2012, was sufficient to reach the standard of probable cause. You know what that means, Winston? When you have a former police commissioner who could tell you a 5-year-old or a 8-year-old child could read that and tell you them emails was false. Apparently, the judge in the United States, he not as bright as a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old. Okay? So, let me read that again. It is noteworthy that notwithstanding the apparent form and structure of the purported email, so when they want to talk about the email address was missing, it was Anand, wherever, and it was missing the D in Anand's name and all of that foolishness. Okay? They're saying, forget that. Forget that they left out the one and KPB, one, wherever, and all of that. Just their foolishness, and you had typographical errors and misspelling, all that nonsense. The judge, he didn't care about that. It's saying here, the content was matched against evidence of prevailing circumstances in Trinidad and Tobago in September 2012 was sufficient to reach the standard of probable cause. The relevant applications were therefore successful and warrants were obtained for the internet service providers. So this U.S. Circuit Court judge who's sitting on the bench every day and hearing evidence, technical cases, and so on, he was satisfied with the evidence provided by the TTPS and its attorneys that there was probable cause and that a crime may have in fact been committed. And so convinced was he that he granted the warrants to search Google and Microsoft. All right, Winston, we're going again. In accordance with the law obtaining in the United States, the Department of Justice followed the exact parameters listed on the search warrant and caused the Federal Bureau of Investigations to filter out or remove all data outside of the range of the search warrant. The FBI then produced to the TTPS, in accordance with the terms of the warrant, all data and communication data for the accounts of the persons named in the purported emails for the specified month, 12 September 2012. So here who was involved as well, Winston? The U.S. Justice Department and the FBI. This wasn't just TTPS, right? The big guns, the high rollers were involved in this as well. I continue. The United States Department of Justice, through additional mutual legal assistance requests, was also asked to provide answers to specific questions raised during the investigation. Notably, they were asked to inquire from Google Inc. and Microsoft the answer to the following question: whether Google Inc. and Microsoft can certify that that which was produced in answer to the subpoena represents all content data and communication data contained in the accounts in September 2012 of the persons named in the email threads. The United States Department of Justice answered as follows. To formally answer your question, the FBI produced all of the data and communication data for your question, right? For the captioned accounts for the specified period, which were provided by Google Inc. Any data within the specified period, which was or may have been deleted by the account holders prior to the issuance of the preservation order, would not be produced in any form and therefore not included in any return. See, Justice Department stating what an FBI who went and served the warrant on Google and them. You understand? Not the TTPS. The United States Department of Justice also indicated in relation to Google Inc. as follows. According to our records, Trinidad and Tobago issued a preservation request on June 20th, 2013. Listen to this, Winston. It is possible that the data that you seek for the period in 2012 may no longer exist due to the account holders possibly deletion of the data prior to the preservation order. What this meant was that since the request for the preservation were not made until 9 months after September 2012, any emails deleted during that 9-month period by the account holder would not be available at all. Given the importance of this investigation to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the investigative process was carried out in an appropriately careful manner. Instructively, the investigation was completed in 7 stages. Nowhere, contrary to what Prasad Bisessa said, contrary to what Saddam Hussein said, contrary to what Gary Griffith said, or any of the rest of them said that Google said the emails were fake, nowhere in this report did Google say any such things. The only thing Google said is, given the length of time between when the emails are reported to have been sent and the time that we received the preservation order, these emails may have been deleted by the account holders and therefore we are unable to retrieve it. So we can't substantiate if it was sent or wasn't sent because you all take too long to serve the preservation order on us. That is what Google said. So I want Winston to listen. Google, contrary to what the leadership of your party says, never said the emails were fake. So anybody in the UNC saying that is a damn blasted liar. I continue. The internet service providers were approached directly for preservation. 1. 2. One of the persons named in the email thread surrendered his device to the TTPS cybercrime unit and it was interrogated. Representatives of the other person's name met with police in order to facilitate the surrender of their devices for interrogation. This meeting was aborted before the interrogation of all the devices was completed because of a failure on the part of the relevant parties to agree to an arrangement suggested by the TTPS. In other words, they're playing smart with foolishness. Right? They were supposed to meet and hand over the devices, and then that meeting was aborted because, as it says here, because of a failure on the part of the relevant parties to agree to an arrangement suggested by the TTPS. So the TTPS said, well, here what? Bring it in on X day at X time. And them say, nah, that's not good with us. All right, how about this day on this time? Nah, that ain't good with me neither. Forget that. So not me saying so. Just to let you know, Winston, not me saying so, right? This is the Deputy DPP telling you this. 3. Evidence was gathered to support the email threads, notwithstanding the fact that certain events were in the public knowledge. Evidence, again, you see that word, Winston? Evidence. You know what I mean? Okay. Not hearsay and propaganda that you're accustomed to. Evidence, and it's in bold, underlined. Right? In this report, it's in bold and underlined. So the Deputy DPP wants you to see that they focus on the word evidence. Had to be gathered to substantiate all of the surrounding circumstances in order to establish whether such evidence would be of a sufficient basis for any charge or charges. Further, such evidence was necessary to provide the basis for an application for a warrant in the United States. So they're reinforcing that. Evidence was required. The judge had just taken that just so. You feel the judge know Keith Rowley? No. Judge say, I ain't want to hear say, no propaganda, bring you evidence and come. Talk to me. Convince me that a crime may have been committed, and then I'll consider giving you the warrant. Based on the evidence gathered and pursuant to our request for mutual legal assistance, our counterparts in the U.S. Department of Justice applied to the District Court in the United States for warrants. Since probable cause was established on the evidence, the applications were successful and warrants were served on the internet service providers. Nowhere here have we seen anybody saying emails fake. In accordance with the law obtaining in the US, the FBI conducted an examination of the data received from the internet service providers in answer to the warrant. In order to filter out or remove any data outside of the exact parameters of the warrant, the information was then sent through the Central Authority of Trinidad and Tobago to the TTPS. So when Google would have sent all the transcripts of all emails sent by these office holders in that period of time, the FBI had to go through to see, well, okay, we have to sift and see what we given to them. So if we see an email where talking about somebody warning somebody or somebody thief some money or whatever, the warrant didn't ask for that information, so we can't get them that. We only given them what they asked for. And what they didn't ask for, even if what they didn't ask for was provided and it points to some other crime having taken place, we can't get them that. Okay? Comment it just now. Almost done here. The TTPS investigative team performed 2 separate assessments of the data which was provided, and the first assessment related to words and phrases contained in the email threads, and the second assessment related to the form of the emails and whether there was any obvious pattern of deletions. A further request was made to the FBI using the mutual legal assistance procedure to answer questions that were not specifically answered in the first request. All the evidence of the surrounding circumstances and also data received from the ISPs were carefully considered by the Office of the DPP. Such consideration was conducted without any involvement of the Director of Public Prosecutions, his having wholly recused himself from advising the police in this investigation. The evidence was subject to the full code test, and with the result, we were not satisfied that a realistic prospect of conviction existed in relation to any identifiable suspect with respect to the offense of misconduct in public office or for any offense against the laws of TNT. The full code test had to pass 2 stages. The first stage is the evidential stage, in which the prosecutor must be satisfied that there is sufficient evidence to provide a realistic prospect of conviction. The second stage is the public interest stage, in which the prosecutor must go on to consider whether a prosecution is required in the public interest. This full code test is outlined in the Code for Prosecutors published by this office in March of 2012. And so on. Conclusion. Listen to this, Sir Winston. This is the Deputy DPP speaking here. The authenticity of the 31 subject emails can neither be confirmed nor denied. Meaning I can't tell you if it's true and I can't say it's not true. So anybody who's saying that the DPP say the emails were fake and the police say and Google say and Microsoft say that the emails were fake, you're a liar. And an inveterate one at that. Because the DPP is clearly saying here, the authenticity of the 31 subject emails can neither be confirmed nor denied. All right? However, evidence gathered supported the fact that there were several of the events referred to in those emails can be confirmed as having actually occurred in the way and at the time referred to in the emails. This last assertion is supported by the fact that an independent district court judge in the United States of America was satisfied that the evidence had sufficient cogency to result in the granting of a warrant to search the servers of internet service providers Microsoft Corporation and Google Inc. The application required the judge to examine the email content and the actual surrounding facts and circumstances as they occurred at the time that the emails were allegedly sent. Here is part, Winston. Such a warrant would not have been granted if the applicants had not shown probable cause. That is, that those surrounding facts and circumstances were sufficient in themselves to support a belief by a man of reasonable caution that a crime had been committed. So when all they want to say, Rowley got the email and Rowley should have known that was fake. Apparently the judge, the circuit court judge, he didn't get the memo that he should have been able to read the emails and know that it was fake. Apparently the FBI didn't get the memo that they should have been able to read the emails and know it was fake. Apparently the DPP office didn't get a memo that they should have been able to read those emails and know that it was fake, contrary to the nonsense that you all have been pushing out there with respect to these emails. This is the Deputy DPP. Challenge it. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the evidence gathered did not reach the threshold required for any criminal charge to be recommended against any person. Put another way, we were not satisfied that there was sufficient reliable evidence of a criminal offense by an identifiable suspect, which could be adduced before a court and upon which a jury, properly directed, could reasonably be expected to be satisfied beyond reasonable doubt. So it is to be noted that during this process, the assistance from our counterparts in the U.S. Department of Justice in providing guidance and assistance proved invaluable, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude, especially since in the jurisdiction it was a novel investigation in many respects, first of its kind. We also take note of the professionalism and resolve demonstrated by the TTPS, having regard to the fact that this investigation required them to navigate uncharted territory. Yours respectfully, Joan Honoré Paul, Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. Not me, sis. This is the report. It is in the public domain. 770-1763. Right? Only on rubbish. Let me see a challenge. Let me see a challenge the Deputy DPP now. Because you know better. Who's this? Let me see here. Happy you know better. Let me get this. Let me see here. What's this? Let's do this. So let me get this here. Let me set this up here. One sec, color. See this here. Get this. 1 second. Right. So let me see this here. Just set this up. Right. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. So let me see what's going on here. Okay, I don't know what happened there just now. Right. think we set up now.
I don't know who.
Yes, no. Let me get
I don't know who's gonna keep.
Just let me get this one here. Let's see what's going on with this thing today, boy. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. Now, something happened in this country over the last month that I find very, very disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
And as citizens of this country, we need answers. Some months ago, in response to an appeal by the EMBD contractors and Rural Monilal, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Privy Council ruled that they must provide their respective defenses to the High Court of this country. They lost the case, and they must present their respective defenses to the High Court of this country by November the 6th, 2024. Now, this was no optional anything. This was something mandated by the Privy Council of this country. And they ruled that on that date, November the 6th, 2024, both the contractors for MBD and Rural Monilal must provide their defenses to the High Court of this country. Now, what is astounding and even shocking is that that date has come and gone. And as I said, this is a mandate from the highest court of the land. So no judge, no magistrate, no judge could interfere with that, could tinker with that. And I am in shock to discover that not one single media house in this country has had the common courtesy and the decency to tell us, the citizens of this country, what has happened or what took place on that day. As I said, this is a mandatory date given from England, from the highest court of the land. So you're going to tell me that neither the Guardian, nor the Newsday, nor the Express, nor any electronic media house has had the common courtesy and decency to tell us what happened on that day? And it was a weekday. So, and the thing about it is, I know as a fact, because routinely I would go to the court over 40 years now and sit down in the magistrate court, just in the public gallery, and the High Court and the Appeal Court, and listen to different matters being dealt with and so on. And I know for a fact that before the magistrate or the judge enters the courtroom, you see a few, 3 or 4 young people come into the courtroom with their notepads and their clipboards, and the marshal of the court would escort them to a particular area of the courtroom set aside for media personnel. I've seen that on countless occasions. And a high-profile case like this, don't tell me that none of those media houses had a court reporter attend the hearing on that day. If it is that nothing happened, we ought to have been told. We out here ought to have been apprised of what happened on that day in the High Court of this country. Failure to do that is a violation of our freedom and privilege to get news from established media houses. Right? Now, as far as the Express is concerned, we know that the Express is the junior body or the assigned body coming below the parent body of OCM, which is also the parent company for 95.5. And if in none of those circumstances, we haven't heard a word about that, what happened in that courthouse that day, but then I could form no other conclusion but that this is is I don't understand this wall of silence that has been put up by the media fraternity in this country. And I am forced to conclude whether this is a conspiracy, between the media of this country or among the media of this country, the UNC, and the judiciary. And it is a shocker that an order that came from the highest court of the land was never conveyed to us. We were never told what happened on that day. And to compound the evil, we had to spot on your live a while ago that somebody whispered that it is to come up now which is tomorrow morning, Monday. Now, as I said before, don't want to stay too long, but as I said before, I don't know that any court in this country reserves the right to tinker with an order coming from the Privy Council. I don't know that. But either way, whether it was tinkered with or it was dealt with on that day, the key thing here is that no media house reported anything to that effect. And we were not told anything from any newspaper, from any radio station, and it's a damn shame. And I am left with no conclusion but to conclude, to form the considered opinion, because I want to know why is it being hidden from us? Why have the media houses taken the position that whatever came out of the court that day has to be hidden from the population of Trinidad and Tobago? Is it a cynical attempt to not to muddy the waters of the UNC before the next general election? Because the media are not particularly concerned or worried about the fate of the contractors, you know. No. The media are concerned with the fate of the politician involved in that matter, who's a deputy leader of the UNC. And I am wondering, cynically speaking, whether they have withheld that information in order to protect and burnish the image of the politician involved in that matter. I await some kind of response, if any, from the media houses of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. But we will not hold our collective breaths, because the media in this country have shown themselves, as Colin Wood said a few months ago, helping the UNC. They realize the UNC is weak, and now with Dr. Rowley indicating that that he will not be offering himself, makes it even more difficult for them. Jenny.
Hi, Dominic. Good afternoon to you and all those who are locked on and tuning in.
Hi.
Dominic, did Dr. Rowley indicate that he's not putting himself back up?
If he indicated?
Did Dr. Rowley indicate that he will not be subjecting himself before the screening committee for the next election?
The article doesn't specifically say that.
And that's what I'm saying. So again, we need to look at the author of these things and who is behind it. Because we heard the Minister of Finance would have said that the media is working to help a weak UNC. Until Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley says that for himself, comes out to the public, says that, speak to his constituents and they have that discussion, I am not going on the headlines. Look at the drama back and they created the internal elections that wasn't going to be kept this year again. Me going to take headlines just so? Let Dr. Rowley talk now, then I will take what he says. I ain't taking no headlines from no media who intend, in my opinion, to create mischief and confusion within the People's National Movement, because they realize the UNC doesn't have a chance in hell to win 2025 general elections. So I will leave that here. With concerning the march that the unions that they had, I was just like those people who go in behind them for whatever reason. And I saw politicians go there, and I was like, okay. I see Rambali, and I was taking beat and drum. He needs to show how he's gone with the people. I see embarrassing there. Ask him what he did as his tenure as the president of the Sugar Workers Union. You will see precious letters. And so many others. I want people to ask Roger, who seemed to be leading this march. Was he the same man who warned us in 2015 that Kamla Persad never again, and he outlined why. He told us about the corruption, massive corruption, giving contracts to friends and family. He told us about how they took down all the security apparatus. He told us about all the crimes in the different, NGC and all these areas that they were spending money without accounting. Then he honors that. That's the thing he's telling us. He wants that same party that he told us about. That's not worth being a part of the governance structure of this country. We heard Abdullah say that Kamla Persad is corrupt. We heard members of MLJ say she's led a kleptocratic government. We heard all that. And today they are marching today to oust the People's National Movement out of office. This Dr. T. Christopher Rowley led PNM from 2015 to now. There's no indication that they have been involved in corruption. There's none. And even when they want to go back to the days of Dr. Eric Williams, George Chambers, Mr. Manning, rest their soul, the only thing people will talk about is corruption in PNM. What do we find is strange? Is O'Halloran and Privat. They don't, to this day, those are the two names, there's nothing else. And then they might drop in the situation with Marley McDonald, rest her soul, and they may drop in the Calder Heart. But Calder Heart would have told them, here I am. Come lock me up, I'm here. If you said I did something wrong, come lock me up. And they were there for 5 days and they did Calder Heart nothing. You know why? Everything Calder Heart said it was meant to build, it was built. We saw it. What might have happened is nepotism in the senses for the law and this or whatever. But when it's about corruption, you saw exactly what was built. Don't you have Napa Stapa, the waterfront, and I could go on and on. So I want the people who are marching behind that field union leader, the one who did nothing for OWT, in fact, he has weakened the position of OWT. The man who, because of him and estate police, TNT workers are still on 2014 salary. Because estate police refused to accept the 6% that was being offered to their members for the period 2015-17. Because they felt they could have get more. It went to industrial court and subsequently, because OWT also represent workers there, that matter ended up in court too. And industrial court would have looked at the evidence before, because they deal with evidence and information, and not no hearsay back and out of confusion. The board of TNT were able to outline in a very grave and serious way in front of the JSC. They can't afford more than 6% because TNT wasn't making any money since about 2012. They had $1 billion debt every year. And if it wasn't for government subvention, they don't know what would have happened. And they painted such a dark and gloom picture about this, what will happen if they are forced to pay more than 6% before the JSC, because it will have an impact on the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, not just TNT workers. The industrial court took that into consideration. It will get the judgment, you know. And they said, based on that, I paid it my way. If they don't want the 6% that TNT offered, they can't pay more because we see the situation they're under based on the evidence they produce. Well, let's take 0, 0, 0. That is the reason why TNT workers are still in 2014 salary today, thanks to their unions. But I will continue further. I want to ask Roger, what is his salary? I want to ask him when he was at Petrotrin, because they said Petrotrin workers, refinery workers, was being paid more than other refineries around the world. I think the refineries around the world were paying their workers about 30-something%. In Trinidad and Tobago, against 50-something%. And on top of that, I want to ask him, is it true that Petrotrin work out some deal, I don't know what it is, that you don't work, you're not working in capacity, you know, as what you were hired by Petrotrin to do, you know, but you're working as a President General of the Union. I want to ask you, was that salary $90,000 a month? And if so, you would have retired. Well, not retired because the refinery closed down and got money. Are you in receipt of a pension? And are you still in receipt of $90,000 per month? I'm asking a question. I'm asking another leader who is leading there. Mr. Anisette, what is the status of his presidency at SWWT? Is he the president or is he not? Has SWWT produced a financial statement to the registered trade unions as they are supposed to do? When last we submitted a financial? So I'm asking again to the gentleman, what is the status of his presidency and what is the status of SWWC? I want to also ask him, what is the status of his case in America, the sexual abuse case we saw? Has it been dismissed? Has there been a settlement? Or does he still have to go to court to answer? But I will say it seems to be a normal thing in the union movement, because I told you there's a report that says 1 of the 3 women in the union movement has faced abuse, violence. Because remember, we had what Solomon Drew, that after the same manifest march in 2017, January 2017, around there, to have Dr. Ralph Balgobin removed from Angostura based on allegations of sexual harassment. And he was correct. We don't want that in our workspaces. He was correct. And he went and compassionately spoke about, imagine if Dr. Ralph Balgobin, because I think he was a lecturer at Lovejoy. I'm paraphrasing. Imagine this man teaching my daughters. This man who is under sexual harassment allegations. Imagine that. But later that year, they make a man who was charged, arrested, spent 4 days in Raymond Yard on $250,000 bail. What will Solomon do? And 1 count of rape and 4 counts of sexual harassment. They made him the president of NATO. No, that same man is facing trial for that incident. But he became the president of NATO. So is it a normal thing? I'm just asking, and we want to know also, what is Anisa's salary? We want to know what is all the union leaders' salary. Because remember, the members' money that comes out of their salary, before they even get it in their hand, that's paying them. So we want to see if it is worth the money they get in their performance. Because they haven't settled any negotiations until 2014 come right back up. But they're responsible for that too, So they wasn't working for the money. And we all know the incident of taking the 4%, and why they take it, in my opinion, because they have no evidence to show the government to pay more. And if you don't have evidence, information, justification, you can't argue a case. So I'm asking and saying all this to say, be careful of the people who again wild up and train up to go out and perform, because they're living good. When all of them protesting the hot sun, them going back home to their condition, and the big money and the palace and the children eating nice, drinking nice, studying all over the world. I want the day to come and union leaders alone will march. And so we march on behalf of the members. They don't need me. Because they get big money. Go and march on the behalf. Don't bring me out in the sun to march. Because sometimes the situation labor finds itself in is because of all this. And all the inefficiencies. And all they're not doing nothing. And you know why Dominicans are late? Because they want to be the same politicians. The same politician who they know cussing. It's them want to be sitting down there in Parliament and have the blue lights and have the door open and say, Mr. Minister, Mrs. Minister. It's not that time we don't want. Because if they're not studying politics, they will do what is right in the interest of workers. But they can't do it because they don't want the government to look good. They can't afford for the government to look good. So they fight down everything. And lastly, I will test my theory that I'm putting here. Duke in 2019 came and told us he got a settlement for the period 2014-16. I'm asking what's in Duke, was it a 9% settlement we got for those 3 years? Didn't you tell us you're not looking at it now? It's Christmas time. So we look at it in 2020. You never did. You know why, Drew? You are a politician. You're the minority leader in the THA, so you became the employer. And then subsequently you form your own political party that went on to win the TSA election. So how you all have the interests of workers at heart when you are now the employer? You're not going to fight for the rights of the employees because now you're an employer. And I leave it there. All the people think harder and know the assignment 2025. For the People's National Movement. Thank you. And have a blessed week ahead, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, my darling. How are you?
I am good.
I was watching yesterday on TikTok. This young lady who tried to fight the government about crime. Where the OPPs went to for the blame? Under whose tenure that disappeared? To get the future, you must know your past. And search your history. Then you can make me thief. because Anwar Ram stole from TSCP $3.7 million. He was paid. How come they haven't been blamed for that? So David Lee is on a fraud charge, but is still there. How come they haven't been blamed for that? There are two of at play, UNC and PNM. You cannot condemn rather, when you condone your own party wrong. Wrong is wrong across the board. You are playing games with people's money, people's lives. And slander and lies and misinformation are three demons. The same pit you build for everybody else, your building will fall. Can I pray for you, darling?
Sure, go
This
ahead.
was a God from Dominic. For the heart he has to serve, Lord God. For they've called him for a purpose and a time. And I pray, God, you keep him safe. According to your will and your will, Lord Jesus. Divine protection, Lord God, be upon him. From the crown of his head, the sole of his feet. God bless PNM. God bless my land. And cause your kingdom to come. And your will be done, just name. Dom, you know you're offline, right?
On Facebook.
Wait for the signal to come back on.
What's that?
On what Facebook says, signal is not available.
Yeah. The battery died. Now I didn't I now plug it back in.
I don't have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye later.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chance, call me back. See something here. Yeah, apologies to the folks on YouTube, on Facebook, sorry. Right. Let me see here. Mr. Chance, okay, call me back now. Let me see here. Right, so I'm back up on Facebook. Apologies, folks. I missed the signal from the device. Patricia McKenzie says we need to produce a book about what the PNM did. I know, and that's a good point, Patricia. When the PNM was in opposition, they were able to produce a book of all the wrongdoings of the People's Partnership. Where is the equivalent of that in terms of what they did? Where is it? Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dominic. How are you?
Greetings, sir.
Greetings to you. Yeah, thank you again for the time you take voluntarily to add to the development of Trinidad and Tobago through facts, right? So that our people will get a balanced view of what is happening. I first of all want to thank particularly Mr. Yates and Jenny for their contributions. I want to thank Mr. Yates because I want to say it is my considered view that there is a conspiracy and a plot among the media and among some sections of the media and the UNC to move this government from office. I say that without reservation. There's so much evidence for that. And let me say it again. It appears to me as a citizen that there is a conspiracy and a plot among sections of the media and the UNC to remove this government from office. Right? And Mr. Yates, that is a very important matter, leads up to everything else. That is connected to what I just said. And when Jenny spoke about the trade union leaders, I do join in that. We want to be full transparency. We want to know your salary. We want to know your entertainment allowance. We want to know your telephone allowance, because we are fully aware that you're living in palatial homes, that your children are attending school abroad in university, as we know, and you're living a nice life. So we want to know transparency across the board. But let me come first. I want to cool down this thing a bit. I always have a little two things to say on good news. So I want to repeat the good news I said, quite recently, the Minister of Finance, and we need to factor in these things by people all the time. Because you know, as I always say to you, that we need money to run the country. And you have an opposition leader who's not talking about revenue at all. She could do this, she could do that, she could bring this, she'll bring that, and she's not telling you where the revenue is coming from. And one of the things I like about this government led by Dr. Heath Rowley is giving us insight on where the revenue. And the Minister of Finance told us that the Revenue Authority will become operational by March 2025. And he went on to indicate that that would mean in the first year, 2025, we will have an increased revenue of $1 billion. Let me get the word for you again, you know. Increased revenue of $1 billion. In the second year, 2026, increased revenue of $2 billion. And in the third year, in 2027, increased revenue. You understand that? And remember that Kamla Prasad Bisesa was against the Revenue Authority. They took it to the Privy Council, and the Privy Council had to tell him it's constitution. So think about that. You need money to run the country, and here's the government point out. Secondly, I want to make a comment on what Mr. Brian Manning said with respect to property tax. We may have forgotten that. He said we are extremely pleased and impressed with how many people have paid their property tax. He said it has been going well. I quote him there. Yeah? He said payments have increased with online payment at First Citizens Bank and others. And so far we have received $105 million, and 2025, $125 million. My people, you know what is good news for me? Because all the time we have been clamoring for better improvement with respect to our community activities. Garbage collection, cleaning of the drains and stuff and all of that. And that money from that property tax is directed straight on to local government support. But citizens, I find that important. Let me close on quickly now by giving you, I know you know Chancey like you in sport, and I thought I'd bring it to your attention, because you may have missed it. You know, I mean, the Trinidad and Tobago Professional Football League. We have a professional football league in this country. You think you know that the government contributed to that? And let me tell you, you know, since 2022, the government is giving $3 million a year. You know what money is for? To help those clubs. And how many call the clubs, you know, the clubs are from? The clubs are from Mova, Tobago, La Hoqueta, Laventille, Port of Spain, Central Trinidad, community clubs. The government is contributing $3 million a year to help the clubs pay their professional players. You know what I'm telling you? So you feel that you're helping people? Look at that level. Community clubs in the community. Mova, Port of Spain, La Hoqueta, Tobago, Central, all getting up. Support from government. Treatment. This year, the competition started yesterday. Trinidad and Tobago Professional League. And it's a big secret. The government is contributing $3 million every year. This year, they will contribute $3 million. That is going partly to help all those clubs in the community pay their professional players, so those professional players can put food on their table. We talk about bringing the poor out of poverty. That's that talent is football. And they've been paid for it, and part of the money they're getting comes from the government. Let me come quickly to this matter as I close off on this. And I want to share this with you now, because I want you to remember what I'm saying here now. Hear this. There's a report on the Guardian, yesterday's Guardian, about this matter with the Tobago Airport. And I think I want you to pay attention to this part, you know. It's the last paragraph of the report on the Guardian. And the last paragraph says, and I quote, while Prasad Bisesa provided screenshots of the alleged cabinet note and accompanying reports, hear this part, I say it slowly, Guardian Media was unable to independently verify the authenticity of the document. Hear that? Mm-hmm. What does that say to you people? Guardian Media said they saw screenshots, but Kamla Prasad Bisesa did not provide them with the evidence that they could look at it and say, yes, that is true. Authentic. And that's my point. On the other hand, on Friday, the Minister of Finance provided documents from Greece and from the the agency, I think it is what's it? Let me get it here again. NITCO. NITCO provided the Minister of Finance gave to the media. I have it here. 2 documents from NITCO and 1 from Greece International Limited, which is an internationally reputable organization dealing with that. Let me repeat that again. The Minister of Finance provided evidence with 2 documents, 2 fact-sheet documents from NITCO and 1 from Greece. That is all I talk about, documentation to satisfy and ensure the information you give is correct. That's the difference. Where are the documents from Kamla Prasad Visesa? Where are they? Where are they? Where are the documents from Kamla Prasad Visesa? And let me close by telling Kamla Prasad Visesa this, you know. Kamla Prasad Visesa, you are so-called senior counsel, and you should know this. She or he who alleges must prove is a general principle of international law that means that the person making the allegation has the burden of proving it. Let me tell you again. The person, that is international law. Kamla, you are supposed to be a senior counsel. But the international law says, because it's a legal maxim, it says, the person who is making the allegation has the burden, the responsibility of proving. Where's the evidence, Kamla? What is the documentation you have? In fact, one of your pipsqueak journalists had the audacity to come and hold a document, and when the Minister of Finance asked about it, she said it's undated. But I want to tell you, undated documents cannot be verified or authenticated. It can't. So that is my thing on that. And as I leave now, I want to remind all of you that there is a difference between, we have said it before, I'm going to say it again, between the Piarco matter and the Tobago matter. People in the Piarco matter went to jail in America. One, Gutierrez, he had to forfeit his land and property in the United States, and he had to pay 28 million TT to Trinidad and Tobago. Up to now, Kamla can tell us where that money goes. Let me say it again. In that matter, with respect to the Piarco, citizens of the United States of America went to prison. One, Gutierrez, had to forfeit his land and property in America, and he had to pay 28 million as restitution to Trinidad and Tobago. That's the difference. And that was found because there was evidence in the court, as Dominic said. And finally, with respect to Miami, we had evidence again, a judge and a jury. Roberto Diaz in Miami, that's the judge and the jury. The jury was unanimous, said that based on the evidence before them, there was massive corruption in that same Piarco matter. And they awarded judgment of $1 billion to Trinidad and Tobago. Let me even tell you this. You know, if you make that mistake and I vote, if you make that mistake and put Kamla Prasad in government, this matter I talk about in Miami is a civil matter, meaning that the incoming government can withdraw it. The matter with Mulila is a civil matter. They could withdraw it out of the court. They could say they no longer interested in it. That is what is before you. As Jerry said, you know the assignment. You know the assignment. Protect the treasury from the thieving UNC. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. Just guess. Brian, 1 second. Just now. Let me just respond quickly to someone I see here. Jasoja Ramkalawan, who is saying, is you African people that Rowley said we know of the government. So let me enlighten Ms. Jasoja. Right? That is not true. When Dr. Rowley made the statement about we know of the government, you see, when it is that you all look at edited clips and you don't know the facts, Dr. Rowley would have prefaced that statement when he made the point that he had read in the newspaper where in response to the budget of that year, a certain businessman made the point that the government failed to use the budget to provide a stimulus package for the business sector, right? A stimulus package for the business sector, for them to invest in this and that and the other and the next. And then he went on to say all the things that the government has to take care of the roads and the schools and whatnot. And he was telling the business sector, right, who depending on government contract to build school and who depending on government contracts for maintenance of this, that, the other, and the next, and who sitting around waiting for the government to announce all kind of policies and different things they're going to spend money on so that you could gear up to come and get government contracts for all these things and to feed off of the state trough. He was telling those persons to wean off the government, not no African people as you want to imply here. So get the facts straight, please. When it is that you all listen to the nonsense from Kick Out the PNM and others who giving you edited clips and not giving you the whole thing, they're giving you half the story and chinks in with the rest, and then you all form your opinion that they want you to form, and then you're all over the place parroting this nonsense about Rowley say tell the country to win off the government. Go back and find the video and play it and listen to it and hear where he prefaced by saying a businessman was saying the government didn't provide a stimulus package to the business community, who always looking to see what government going to do, so what contracts they could get. That is who he was telling to win off the government. Okay? Good grief. Brian. Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon, Dominic.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
Good afternoon to your listeners and callers. And Dominic, you see how that blogger would have started her comment?
Mm-hmm.
You Africans, what she mean by that?
Hmm.
How that song? As if them living somewhere and we living somewhere else? People that look like me living somewhere else? I live in the South. Anyway, Dominic, you see, I have to agree with your previous callers.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at what is happening right now, the biggest thing right now is the Tobago Airport. And why is that so? Because the media has been bought out as far as I'm concerned. Look at all of the things you spoke about earlier, how much money missing. But I shouldn't say missing, stolen. And there's no evidence to show what that money was used for. It may be there on paper, but the evidence to show a brick, to show a bag of cement, a piece of wood, any type of document, nothing at all, and not a question up to today has been asked about that $789 million that Dr. Rudal Bonizal and can't answer a question about it. Neither can his leader, Kamla Prasad Misesa. But they go to a media conference, hot and sweaty, with document in tow, and asking a question, a senior journalist, who ought to know better that if you get a document in your hand, first of all, you look at the top. It must have a date. It must have been addressed to somebody. No date, no address, just something in a piece of paper in your hand. And when the minister is asking you, he says, well, what are you talking about? I don't have that information before me. Where did you get it? Did you get that from the opposition leader? The journalist said yes, they admitted that they got it from the opposition leader. So I had to ask myself the question, is this journalist working for a media company or are they working for the UNC? That you would get a document, not clarify anything, the authenticity of whatever is on that document from the person you got it from. But you come to ask a minister of finance questions off of it? Really? And Keishan, he is trying his best to try to trip up the Honorable Minister of Finance. And they're talking about there's a concern by some environmentalists about birds flying around the airport because of the amount of grass. I keep like the only airport in the whole wide world since Adam was a little boy that ever built with glass and have birds flying around it. Because they have nothing else to talk about. One environmentalist asks you a question, but you Tobago airport. And you come to ask that stupid question. You are a senior journalist as well. Come to ask that dotish question. And on top of that, when all you're printing all your stuff in the papers the next day, even though the discussion was about US dollars, yes, and there may have been some extra money spent in that type of contract, obviously things would change because China really would be importing a lot of stuff. And at that time, you know, there was COVID and everything went up, freight went up. The government had to go to court to fight certain residents in Tobago who refused to move, and they were supported by Pali. Until the government said enough is enough, but had to spend money and go to court to have these people removed. And Pali to relocate them because there was a stumbling block in the construction of the Tobago airport. How come nobody is talking about these things? There will always be variations in contracts like of this magnitude. And they print in the excess money that may have been spent, not in US as was discussed in the media conference, but in TT dollars to make it look big and make it sure to make people, but look at money. Really? That is the sleight of hand that these media people will use after this discussion. This Minister of Finance came and he spoke. He took all your questions. And you still go and misprint and print it in your own way to make it look big. And questioning the consultants and all this sort of thing. As though there's something wrong with the consultants when he has to explain and give the history of the consultants, Gleed and McDermott, I believe the other one is. McDonald, I think it is. With respect to how long they're in this type of business, this construction business, for years, and of international repute and reputation. He had to bring all of that. He brought all of it, all what you asked, he answered. And yet still, this media and this Kamla Prasad business are still going ahead to say $400 and nearly $500 million missing and they have to have a criminal inquiry. Compared to what you read out a short while ago about that SIS and that wastewater. But you see, it wouldn't really matter, you see, Dominic, you know why? Because every month that God sent month, Dominic, we paid $7 million US dollars, Dominic, to the salt plant in Point Lisas. To our family consortium, Dominic, $7 million every month. And they have a contract for 20 to 25 years. And if the UNC should get back in office, Dominic, what do you think will happen to that contract, Dominic? You think it'll be left just like that? Or Kamla Prasad may say, this is my last 5 years yet, nobody can do me nothing after this. I like to make this contract, this continuation of this contract airtime. And it'll go for another 30, 40 years. What are we to do about that, Dominic? Are we just to sit back and say, well, leave it just so? And pay this $7 million US dollars into almost perpetuity, Dominic?
Yep.
When people complain that they gain US dollars and only gain 200 from the bank, but a family consortium getting how much? $7 million when the month end come? And only supplying for 21% of the water for the entire country. 21% of the water that we and is used on a daily basis in Trinidad. That is what they're supplying to Trinidad. 21% of the water. Really? And they have a contract into 2035, 2036, somewhere around there. And people going to vote back for Kamla Prasad, Bissessa, and the UNC. What do you think she will do? You think she don't like the family all of a sudden? You think she just like them? And she going to say, nah, only get enough? Dominic, we have to be so careful and we have to remember Dominic, go on with it. SIS was the contractor who renovated and built up the Pink Palace. And when they realized SIS name was on the board, they blocked it out. I know, I saw it. I saw the board. They put up a helipad so that that person will be able to travel to and from Trinidad, South and North Trinidad and vice versa, without taking a normal car like the present Prime Minister. And we have to pay for that. You think she will do it again, Dominic? I'm just asking a question. When you was in your younger days, you used the helicopter, and you still had the helipad there, and you get back into office, you go just say, I go take the car. Huh? And leave the helipad there? Or we got to pay another set of money for a helicopter ride for another 5 years? Dominic, they know already how Gucci run it. And right now, one of the 3 persons that he has announced so far, the Miss Mohit, you recall just in the parliament, it was revealed that there were food cards that were spending $30,000 every single day. And she couldn't explain it away. So Kamala Persad doesn't care about our money and the poor people of this country that they're always talking about, because you just reselected Mohit to go back up in Shabonas. So if she could select Mohit, you think she could select David Lee? You think she could select Rudal Munilal? I'm just asking a question. Throw it in your face. Or let's take that. It's okay if they're before the court. Or let's take that. Let me chief whip. And the nastiest things Dr. Rudal Munilal said about Minister Hines just recently, and call them what again? Use the word again. Stink mouth. Yeah, anybody say anything about it? No. But you must call them Mr. This, MP that, MP the other. We must be decent. Understand? And they will call us, you would call Dr. Rowley the worst of the worst. All these years, accuse him of all manner of things. He and his wife. And nothing is said about it. It's a crime, shame, that we have to sit here. And when you recall all of these things that happened with that wastewater project that has never seen the light of day, and money shelled out like nobody's business, and people could have abscond until our UNC government gets back in office, when the leader will, quote unquote, I must help a friend. We have to be mindful, and it could be worse, knowing that they know exactly what to do now. When a man could carry a government to court for over $1 billion in construction charges and settling for under $300 million. So after the 75%, they didn't work for it, but you're just charging for it. And these are some of the things we must remember. That there are people out there just simply greasing their hands and rubbing their hands together, waiting for a certain party, a certain set of kleptocrats to get back in office, so that their leader, who never know anything and is always advised, as you rightly said, can go and have 5-day weekends, and others could run riot on our treasury. And this time they will ensure that the IMF hears that knock on the doors. And for the recall 1986, when people lost their houses and their vehicles and their cola and so on, this time, I can guarantee you, it will be worse. Do not forget the assignment. I urge you listeners and callers, do not forget the assignment. Dominic, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. You too. So just says, you PNM people have no shame. The amount of things Kamala did for you all. Rowley gave you marijuana. What did Kamala do for PNM people? What did she put out and say this is specifically for PNM people? Tell us now, Joe. The fact that you're paying less taxes today, Keith Rowley gave you that. You're grateful or you're shameless? When you go to pay your bills, you go to TNTech, TSTT, WASA, and you're paying 2.5% less in VAT on your utility bills than you were paying under your great Kamala. You tell Rowley thanks for that? Jasodra? When your utility bills coming less because Keith Rowley reduced VAT? When you decide to do some renovations around your house and you go to the hardware and you buy the galvanized or the blocks or the cement or whatever, and you're paying 2.5% less in VAT than you were paying under Kamala, Keith Rowley gave you UNC people that. You tell him thanks for that? You're grateful for that? You're ashamed to talk about that? Whenever it is, when was the last time you went to Tobago? I know your leader hasn't gone in a while. When you go on the ferry, any of the 3 brand new ferries that Keith Rowley bought, your leader bought none. The 2 that she inherited from Mr. Manning, she allowed it to run down. Keith Rowley bought 3. You tell him thanks for that? Your leader built 1 hospital, the Cuba Hospital. Keith Rowley built 5. He built Grandy Hospital, Arima Hospital, Point Fortin Hospital, Port of Spain Central Block is almost complete, and Roxborough Hospital. Right? So you have Keith Rowley give you 5 to choose from. Kamala gave you 1. She turned an office complex that Mr. Manning built into a teaching hospital. Right? So she built 1 with money she borrowed from the Chinese. When you go to any of these hospitals, or your family go to any of these hospitals, your friends go to any of these hospitals, you tell Keith Rowley thanks for that? But you're talking nonsense about Keith Rowley give us marijuana. Really? Keith Rowley increased the income ceiling for pension. So if you have anybody in your family who receiving pension, right? You tell them thanks for that? You know what Kamala gave all you? Baby grant, $500 a month to make child. As if $500 a month could buy Pampers and milk for a whole month. So this nonsense about what Kamala and we have no shame. What did Kamala do? You want to talk about laptops? So let me tell you, Keith Rowley gave out 79,000 laptops. Kamala, and he gave out 79,000 in 3 years. Kamala gave out 95 in 5 years. So when you do the average, Keith Rowley gave out more. All right, and he didn't just give to the students, he gave to the teachers too. What else you have? What else you have? You all like to complain about, oh, Rowley in the back pocket of the 1%. Let me tell you something. The prisoner transport contract that started under Pandey to amalgamated to transport prisoners from the prisons to the court and back. That you all used to be griping and complaining 80 million a year they given Abood. It started under Pandey. It continued under Mr. Manning and Prasad Bisesa. Which prime minister ended it? Keith Rowley did that. When last you see them big truck and them driving up and down the road trying to part traffic to transport prisoners? When last you see a lineup of prisoner, these prisoner trucks that Abood buy park up in front of the Magistrates Court on St. Vincent Street or in front of the Hall of Justice? Who stopped that? Tell us now. Keith Rowley increased the minimum stamp duty threshold for first-time homeowners from 850,000 under Kamala to 2 million. You know what that means? That if you have anybody in your family just who want to buy a house for the first time, under Kamala Prasad Bisesa, if the house costs more than 850,000 of the property, they would have had to pay a significant amount of stamp duty. Keith Rowley said increase the limit. So if the house costs $2 million or less, you pay no stamp duty. You know what money that is in savings that you could use to paint the house, add on a room, furnish your house? Plenty money. It reduces your closing costs. Keith Rowley give you that. Your family members that. You bought a new car recently? That 2.5% that you saved on VAT, do the math. If your car costs 300,000, 400,000, you know, all like that. Do the math, 2.5% less in VAT on 300 or 400,000. See how much you would have paid in VAT on that same vehicle for under Kamala. The money you're saving, you could pay for your insurance for the first year. Also, what did Kamala give to PNM people? What did she give them? You know what she did? She went around in the back by East Port of Spain and all those derelict buildings that should have been torn down years ago, that have endless problems and looking terrible, that you all complaining, oh, we have a set of bandits in the back there, that Keith Rowley and Patrick Manning wanted to tear down and build new buildings. Kamala went and tell them, hey, color me orange. $69 a day for 3 months, paint the buildings. Let the outside look nice, even though inside looks horrible. That's what she did. She took houses that Mr. Manning and the PNM built and said 100 houses a week and take credit for that. To give out houses that the PNM built. And who did she give it to? She went again, East Port of Spain, Duncan Street, Nelson Street, and tell them, people here what? We will give you apartments for $100 and you take it. Give you 100 and take it. But the people there were smart. You understand? Because they know if they do that, HDC wipes its hands or washes its hands of the responsibility for maintenance of these buildings. Never mind the fact that they're in a mess. So they would have had to find the money to fix anything. The sewer's gone bad. Sorry. No longer HDC's responsibility. You all bought the houses from the HDC, the units, so we're not responsible for that. Any maintenance, any issues, you had to find the money to pay for it. They were smart. They didn't take that. But you're coming to talk nonsense about Rowley give us marijuana, or give PNM people marijuana. As if UNC supporters don't smoke marijuana. Some of the hardest marijuana smokers and probably even marijuana sellers is in the UNC. So we'll come again with that nonsense now. Miss us with that foolishness. But Kamala give nothing. Nothing. She gave a take away. What she gave? Food card? Handout? Boasting that she gave out 48,000 food cards? That's anything to boast about? Talking about land for the landless? You want her land? Come, we'll give you a certificate of comfort to go and squat. And you could build at 2x4, according to her, and then in a few years you could save your money and build at 10x10. Meanwhile, Kid Rowley is telling you, come, let me give you a deed of lease that you could take to the bank and get a loan. I'll give you a starter home, and you could build from there. A starter home with indoor plumbing, so you don't have to do like what Pasad Bisesa is offering, build at 2x4 or 10x10, but your toilet outside and your bathroom outside. So if in the middle of the night a bellyache take you, you have to go and find candle and torchlight to run outside and dodging frogs and so on to get to the outhouse. Latrine. Kid Rowley is building a house for you. Tell you here what? We increase on the last budget. They increased it by 50,000. The budget to $200,000. We'll build a starter home for you. Right? 2 bedrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen, indoor plumbing. All you need is sweat equity. Get your friends and family and them to come and help. So we'll save money on labor, and the money we saving on labor, you could use that money to perhaps furnish the house or add on an extra room. You could bring, if you have money saved that you are saving to build the 2x4, you could bring that and add it and we give you a 3rd bedroom. Just get the labor, save on the labor, because that's what Kid Rowley is offering to over 600 families and counting. Kid Rowley offering that. Not what your leader is offering people. Right? That is what Kamala is offering. Go and see if you could beg somewhere and get some 2x4, some ply, a few old rusty galvanized, drive around and see if anybody changed the roof and the galvanized with big nail hole in it. See if you could get that and knock up something now. No electricity, no running water. The other day when it is that this government spent $9 million to put a booster station for one community in Tabaki to get water. A community of 300 people. You know who had issues with it? The UNC. Always say $9 million is too much money to spend for 300 people. But these 300 people getting water that they weren't getting under Kamala. So when you want to talk nonsense about what Kamala gave PNM people, tell us, what did she give the PNM people? What she give? Tell us now. I'm waiting. What did she give them? Nothing of substance. Live sport? Who benefit from that? The people who benefited the least were the young men who should have benefited the most. And maybe if she was offering them the things, the over 70-something projects and programs that the Ministry of Youth Development is offering them today, crime wouldn't be the situation that it is today. It wouldn't have been. All these programs that this administration has created in the space of the last 4 years under the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, and you know what? It didn't cost $400 million. And these young people are getting paid a stipend every week to go to these courses and do these courses. And when they finish, they graduate in. And they have a certificate. But not only that, they are skilled. Rather than Kamala coming to talk about, we teach you maths and English. Pay a man $34 million to teach maths and English and not one class held. Not a stick of chalk, not a duster, not a blackboard or a paper clip we have to show for that $34 million. He has gone to the great beyond. That is what Kamala gave. But you know what? 169 young people between the ages of 18 to 35 just finished, they just graduated from UWI with certificates in agricultural studies. And they're in the process of getting land, 2 acres of land, a starter home, $20,000 to start their business, and the support that they need to run their business. That's what Keith Rowley doing. You could tell me anything Kamala did that compares to that? Name one program Kamala did that compares to that. Who does get those houses? Just go and Google it. Google the Homestead program, the Youth in Agriculture Homestead program, and you will see. And if it is you want to take it down the race road, it have videos showing the graduates, and you will see it have plenty of those graduates who are of East Indian descent. Plenty of them taking advantage of the opportunity. So if you all want to imply that the PNM using these programs to try and give things to African people, you should be happy. Because then you say it's the African and them who committing crime and robbing East Indian people and running into their homes. So you should be happy if they are the ones who are taking up these opportunities. So they will come out of a life of crime, as you would like to suggest. What nonsense. And Bachelor has appeared. Bachelor, the line is free. You were supposed to call today with your file on EmailGate. I brought my file. Bring your file. The line open, 7701763. Right? Come to talk nonsense about Kamala did for all. Of course she did for all. There was no means test. So you know what? The children of the so-called 1% who have iPad, MacBook, what's this other one? The iMac, right? The house full of laptops, desktops. They don't need no cut-rate, second-rate laptop that the government was giving out. But you know what she gave to them too? They don't need it. I can tell you, my niece and nephew at the time were in school. And when they bring it home, the mother tell them, take it back. Because the father who living in the US sent stuff for them. He's sending the best for them. Right? So miss us with that rubbish. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Joyceton says, no shock by the riverbank. Exactly, Joyceton. Exactly. So I just said Keith Rowley gave out 78 or 79,000 laptops in 3 years. And I'm pretty sure they didn't say what is the ethnicity of the students. They didn't say what's the ethnicity of the teachers who got it. So I don't know where it is Bachelor coming from with this nonsense about Rowley Kamala gave to everybody. Of course, Rowley gave to everybody. When it is that he reduced your income tax, did he say this is only for persons of African descent? Or they rake Fitzgerald Hines over the coals 2 years ago when he represented Dr. Rowley at the Emancipation procession. When he deputized to Dr. Rowley and gave the speech, and he made the point that the government had created a program of distributing lands for the purpose of agriculture. And when they looked at the names of the persons who were applying, that they were disappointed to see that not more persons of African descent were applying for the land. So if you look at the list and say, okay, well, it's only persons with East Indian names applying for the land, so we're not giving it to them? No. We're creating opportunities, and the persons of African descent are not motivated to do it. When it is that persons are telling these young at-risk African youth that Rowley wanted that the Homestead program, right, to discourage them, Rowley only want to give all their land to go and to dig dirt in the hot sun. When you have a 17 or 18-year-old young man going on TikTok and talking that rubbish, that's what Rowley want to give the young people. You will be going to dig dirt in the hot sun. You know what they prefer? You go and sign your name every fortnight or every day. You're signing your name saying that you come to learn math and English. You sign your name, and then you go and you go home, and you lie on the block all day and you smoke a weed, and you're waiting for the end of the fortnight so they will call you for the check. And they come and they get the check and they go and cash it, and you have to get the contractor half. And when it is they did the investigation, half of the people who were the coordinators of the live sport program had criminal backgrounds, criminal history, charges. What are they doing in that program? And these are the people that Kamala selected as role models for these young men. People who have been to prison, who have lived a life of crime and perhaps still involved in a life of crime. But come in here to talk this nonsense. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic!
Leave it there.
What's going on? Look, your boy.
Let me hear what Bacchanal is.
Says good afternoon. Dominic,
Uh-huh.
I asked them a question across, so but nobody I want to answer my question for me. I say, you the only person might be able to help me out. Dominic, did Adrian Leon say how we think the government would not accept the SRC report?
Did he say what?
Did Adrian Leon say that?
I didn't hear Adrian Leon say that.
He said that.
Leave it there, what's your point?
Dominic?
Leave it there, what is your point?
You're breaking up on me. You're breaking up on me.
I break it as you somewhere by some fan or some window or something. You need to move from there.
So probably that is why he didn't turn off a screening.
Really?
Because ups come Dr. Rowley and say he will accept it.
Okay, and why would that prevent Adrian from presenting himself for screening?
Dr. Rowley let down the man. Mova people begging for him to come back. But he's a man of his word, Dominic.
Who's a man of
He's
his
a
word?
man of his word.
Who is that? What word are you talking about?
Let Dr. Rowley take that. I can't wait to see the back of Dr. Rowley. Let him go. Dominic, I will leave it there.
And there's the Bacchanal, right? Come on with nonsense. Adrian Leon was an ordinary MP for years, and he didn't let that deter him from offering himself a second term, right? For 5 years, and people are saying, "Oh, they should get Leon's a government position, make him a minister and whatnot." Dr. Rowley didn't make him a minister. He didn't get vexed and walk out. He came and he presented himself again, and he was selected again, and he won. And then he was eventually made a minister in the Ministry of Housing, right? So to say that he didn't present himself because he was interviewed by the media and he said that, based on what you say, that he said that the government may not take the increase, however, as the case may be. And because of that, he's not presenting himself. Rubbish. If the man says that he has family issues, okay? Because anyway, I need to come back. Jenny said, leave it there, your boss want to see the back of Dr. Rowley. If I YK, if you know, you know, right? Right. You know, there's none so blind as those who cannot and will not see. Right? And the fact of the matter is that all of these persons who support Poseidon Visessa and who like to say all the things that she did and whatnot and so on, chalk and cheese, when you compare to Dr. Rowley, chalk and cheese. The reason why come 2027, the country's economic prospects are looking much brighter is not because of anything that Kamla Poseidon Visessa did. It is not because of anything that Kevin Ramnarine did or Rudal Munilal did. It is because of what Keith Rowley and Stuart Young and to a lesser extent Franklin Kahn would have done with respect to the energy sector. Fixing what they met when they came in, right? And putting things in place. They didn't go and kowtow to the energy companies and beg them to come and invest money. So you could say if foreign direct investment was X amount of billions under you, but the country doesn't benefit from it. We don't benefit when these companies come here and drill in border, looking for in border oil and in border gas, and they drill and they end up with a dry hole. And then you give them sweeter tax concessions, telling them that they could write off the amount of money that they spent to drill these wells. They could write it off against income that otherwise they would have paid to the state based on the existing wells that they have. So we benefit nothing from it. So them coming here to drill for in-border oil and in-border gas, and then in some cases they're finding it and leaving it for years because we have certain wells that were oil fields and so on and gas fields that were found since the 1980s, and only now 40 years later they're now looking to monetize these things, so that when they come and spend their money to drill and find nothing and then want to write off the cost and we get no taxes, that is what impacts the government's ability to be able to pave road, which, by the way, I see that the government is getting $250 million US from CAF to pave roads and to improve the education sector with respect to schools and so on. And $150 million US of that is to go to pave roads. But 2 to 3 years ago, when the minister was saying that they were going to borrow money to pave roads, as you see in UNC, people coming to talk about, oh, they're going to increase the debt to GDP ratio, and they're creating debt for the children and the grandchildren. But you're complaining about the state of the roads, when it is that the government's revenue position was impacted because of dotage deals that your government made, so that these energy companies wouldn't have to pay any income, any taxes until 2027. We're in 2024. So when that impacted the revenues, what did you expect? Where do you expect the government to get the money from? So when Kamala was in office, oh, she was enjoying the spoils, getting all of the royalties and the taxes and so on. And then you come now to impose this. Keith Rowley's administration came in and inherit that foolishness and have to endure. And now they have to go back to the drawing board to see where they could find new sources of revenue. So when it is this government is forced to implement property tax and any other tax, understand it is what your government, Jasudra, did that forced their hand. If your government, the party that you support, didn't put the exchequer account in permanent overdraft, then this government would have had a little leeway, a little bit of fiscal room to be able to do more things. So maybe they might have been able to offer 9 or 10% instead of the 4%, but they don't have the money. You could say we're paying you 14, but money has to be found to pay the 14. And when it is that you are seeing every year the government is running budget deficits, you know what that means? We're spending more than we're earning. So even if you want to say they lie when they say they don't have money, the evidence is there to show every year we're running budget deficits, spending more money than we are earning. So we know the government's revenue is down. And when it is that you want to offer 14% and 15% to mamagai the public service, to get votes, and then you have to fight up later to find the money to pay the back pay, and not just to pay the back pay, you also have to come down and find the money to pay the recurrent salaries, these new salaries. Maybe, just maybe, if it is as Jenny was telling us, when it is Watson Duke in 2016 or 2019 or whatever it is had gotten the offer, and he had entertained it then, back then when the government's revenue position might have been a little better. You might have been able to get more than the 4%. Maybe Duke should really come out and tell us what was the offer on the table then. Right? I don't know what magic it is you all want the government to work and get the money from where. It's not that the government don't want to pay you 14%. They cannot. It's like your child coming to tell you, Mommy, I want a PS5 for Christmas. Or Mommy, I want to go to Disneyland or I want to go to Orlando for the July-August vacation. And you know you don't have the money for it. And you're telling the child, well, I can't buy the PS5 for you for Christmas because I don't have the money right now because we have to do this and we have to do that. And the money that we have can only do so much. Okay? But hold straight now. I can't give it to you this year. But next year, things supposed to be better because Mommy's supposed to be graduating and when she get her degree and she might get a better job, or Mommy's supposed to get a pay raise next year, or Mommy's supposed to get a promotion next year and she'll be earning more money and you could get it next year. So hold straight for a year now. And the child don't want to hear that and he vexed and say, all kind of thing, and he wish he had different parents because his friend who father working somewhere, who father have a business and buying expensive thing for him and could afford to buy the PS5. So when he go by the friend house and he see the PS5 to play, because that parent could afford it, but this parent cannot. And you trying to reason with your child and tell them, hold straight. Let me give you something a little cheaper. This thing we'll get something else and next year you'll get the PS5. They should, as I keep saying, that child should go and draw up a placard and go and stand up in the front yard and march up and down the street in front of your house saying, Mommy must go and Daddy must go. Right? Because you telling them that you don't have the money and you can't give them what it is they want now. You're not saying they're not going to get it. No. It's just that no, we can't afford it. Whole street. All right? Simple thing. But you all don't want to understand that. We're only getting 4% and 4% and 4%. Brian. So let me see. Hold 1 second. Let me see.
To spend our money as we see fit. Business people have recognized when Dr. Rowley said, we'll take our own medicine. We will not find ourselves in the hands of the IMF. That was a trigger for the business community in Trinidad and Tobago to expand their businesses because they recognize that people would have a lot more money Not as much as they would like to, but they would have money to spend. Look at what happened when courts. You know courts still have sale? You know people still rushing in courts as we speak? Courts still advertising sale as we speak? People lying up outside standards 3 o'clock in the morning? Dominic,
Yes.
do you know Facade, the Food King, is expanding? Do you know right now, as we speak, Dominic, he's rushing to finish a building in Chabonas to open before Christmas. They said 1 minute, and how I know that is because I have a child working in that area. He said, Daddy, 1 minute, the building, you can see the plane of the foundation, and in 1 month time, the way these people working fast, and they want to open this new building before Christmas. Speed, Dominic. Facade, the Food King. Do you know there's a extra foods going to open in South? Anybody know that? Do you know that there's right near to South Park, that land has been acquired there to open up another mall type, South Park 1, South Park 2? One of these things happen, but these things don't make papers, they don't make news. Bright Ideas expanding into the East-West corridor. Expanding into the East. What do you think is Bright Ideas? Those Bright Ideas? Facade, the Food King. You could go in Bright Ideas and get everything under the sun to purchase outside of food stuff. Anything else you want, and clothing. Anything else you want, you could go and get for your house. You understand? So these businesses are expanding, Dominic, all over the country.
That's right.
People don't talk about these things. But you know they wouldn't talk about too as well, Dominic? Because I heard it from Professor Simpleton this morning on another program. And I went and did a little study on it. Do you know between 2010 and 2015, and I recognize when he said it, that Kamla Prasad Bisesa is trying to do the same thing that she did just before 2010. By holding in these same unions. That after, remember the Faizabad Accord?
Yes.
Kamla Prasad Bisesa had 5 prominent union members in government at the time, between 2010 and 2015. Only one left early, and that was David Abdullah, when he realized what was going on, and he was fooled. He left early, but you know who stayed? Aaron McProud stayed. He was Minister of Labor. He was a President General of where? The Oilfield Workers Trade Union. Rudranath Bamboo Palace in Darsing. You know what he was? He was minister in the Ministry of Finance. So he knew how much money was passing through. He also knew for the last 4 periods of the USC, there was no money. They were out of money. So they were in a recession. He knew that. But he was there. Lambert was there. And Wade Mark. 5 of them was there. Union men. And today she come back to catch same union men. All that time, Roger was marching up and down in Portsmouth in Woodford Square with an effigy of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, because you know why? She was negotiated, told the CPO don't negotiate with nobody represented by the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. But today, Roger want to play that Kamla Prasad Bisesa is the best thing since life. And he was telling people to vote for the UNC, not for the MSJ. But David Abdullah behind it, clapping and bowling, we shall overcome. And when they asked him questions about the union business, he says he's no longer in union business. He's a politician. But every minute he's behind Roger. They are trying, as Jenny is correct, they are trying to fool us. They tried it in 2010, and they are trying it again. Do not be fooled, people. Because they were all there. They all saw when the money was coming in. When oil prices were over $100 a barrel. This built nothing. The overdraft on the exchequer went up by $23 billion. Nothing to show for it. Port of Spring General Hospital was condemned since 2008-9, and they did nothing about it until this government got in there and decided, Dr. Rowley decided enough is enough. One, we have to save money, build our own buildings. And two, we have to ensure that nobody dies because of an earthquake to the Port of Spain General Hospital. And today, we can see the results of that. Kamla Prasad, the Sunday, sent up the exchequer. Dani Sharma had when he saw the figures, he was in shock. He couldn't believe. He said, what is this about? I can always remember when he was on the Joint Select Committee. $23 billion and nothing to show for it for 5 years. What the hell all you feel they will do when that gas begins to come and money begins to flow? What do you think they're going to do? So they're going to say, nah, we get enough and that's it? No. It's going to be worse. And then they will tell us during our recession that everything good. She and Kevin Ramnarine, about the whole of 2015, and the new since 2014 that things so bad, exclusive of the refinery. The new things so bad that they had to make adjustments. But they're telling everybody everything good. And a big smile and a wink, and everybody getting fooled until this government stepped in September of 2015 and told us the truth about what was going on. And they also negotiated. You can imagine that government negotiating with unions to give them 40% and 12%, and they have no money in the treasury. You can imagine that? They don't have a cent in the name. How was we to pay them? And on top of that, for the last 3 months before the election, one minister going and borrow to his, and one other one give OAS $961 million to go home with. Trinidad and Tobago, don't forget these things, you know. I'm warning you all, it will be disaster to pay. Look at it, 10 years and we still trying to get out of the rut that they left us in. And I'm almost certain if they get back there, it's going to be worse. Don't be fooled. Don't make that mistake. Thanks again, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. So it is 2:51, folks. Let me thank you all for joining me. Somebody says Double Palm is opening branches all over Trinidad and Tobago, 13 branches. So he says, Carl, they are still getting caught with their pants down in car. Oh my gosh, only people that easy. Folks, it's always a pleasure to chat with you guys. We will chat again on Tuesday, God's willing. So good to see you. Right. I'm just going to know this thing here. Right. So Shall is saying, aren't they afraid of crime? They want to save between 20 to 30 and it's putting their lives at risk. Should there be large-scale robberies and lives lost? What would they say and who can or will they blame? Michael is saying bright ideas, open outlet in Diego Martin just opened a week ago. Yes, all over the country, new businesses are popping up. There's this new mall, strip mall, if you want to call it that is open up behind the new Extra Foods grocery in El Socorro there. Big mall they opening, another mall they opening there. You feel they're going to open that just for so? Obviously, they expect they're going to get tenants. M6 Plaza, that the newest plaza on Nasir Rumaya is almost fully tenanted. If you go to East Gates, that opened just over a year or something or so ago, they too almost, if not last time I was there, they were almost fully tenanted. Past there a couple of days ago, you can't get a car park within the main compound. You have to go to the overflow car park, but people don't have money. They're struggling. Things bad. They're eating grass. So you're just going to the mall just for so? You're nothing better to do. And I'm talking about this is in the middle of the day. Eh? Middle of the day, when people are supposed to be at work. The car park full in a weekday in the mall. Yesterday, same thing. Trincity Mall, they're saying Trincity Mall gone through, but the car park full in Trincity. They're just on nonsense. But you see how people who buying into that foolishness, that thing so hard, and we suffering and all of that. I saw there was one other thing I wanted to touch on. Where is it? Before I go, as I remembered. I don't think I saw that name before. Where is it, boy? Talking about poverty and crime, and the politicians are the one who. Where is it? Oh, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. There's so many. So let me see if I get it here. Let's see, where is it? There's so many comments since then. But basically, the gist of it is what he was trying to say is that it's the politicians to blame when the people who voted for them. That's only brutal, you know. Oh gosh, they put the licks on Jasudra here. I think Jasudra is new. I didn't see the usual suspects. I left the lines open for Mr. Bachelot to call, and can you say he was coming with his file today? I'm not saying it, folks, but basically they talk about poverty again and poverty, fuel, and crime, right? And I am saying if there were no opportunities, no problem. If the government wasn't providing opportunities and they want to come with that, I say all right. But when the opportunities are there, are we not talking 10 opportunities, 20? My last count, based on what I was told, is over 76 different programs the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service has. And it's not just for youth. That's that they have programs also for persons who are older than 35. People keep saying, so what happened to the people who are over 35? What happened to the people who are over 35? And if the government has responded, if the government, Eric, you're late, about to wrap up, going on with you. If it is that the government is telling you, we set aside $20 million, we're giving out 1,000 grants to persons for $20,000 each to start a business. Why are you not taking up the opportunity? And then you come to tell me about poverty, but the Venezuelans come in here and opening business, and they're not getting the grant. They're not getting the 20,000, and they could start a business. They opening grocery and restaurant and other food establishments, and they come in here with nothing. Whatever skill sets they came from or whatever occupations they had in Venezuela, they come in here and trying to see how best they could put it to use here. So when I could go to a Venezuelan restaurant that is fully owned by Venezuelans, and there's only Venezuelans working in the restaurant, and it tells me something. They come in here and all of them, 5-10 of them living in one apartment, working with and pooling the money so that they could start a business to work for their own because they know they've been exploited by Trinidadian businessmen. They could come and do it. And you who born here, living here for your whole life, complaining, think hard, and really care. And while you only studying to get a pay raise so that you could be a salary earner for the rest of your life, you have others who are coming to this country who weren't born here, and they're looking to write their own paycheck to start their own business. And your government is telling you, come, I want to help you to start your own business. Don't come to ask me for no 14% when I can help you to start a business and 100% is yours. You don't want that opportunity. Now, I mean, what that? Just give me 14%, right? And take back 25% of that in tax. And I'll go and spend it on some stupidness and buy a new fridge and stove and car and whatnot and put myself in debt until I get the next pay raise and the next back pay. And that making sense. Let me take Eric quickly here before I jump out. Eric, again, you have 5 minutes. You're very late today.
Afternoon. Well, you know, when you have to work and this thing, you know, you have to just kind of run in a little and thing. You understand?
Yes.
But anyway, let's get after to all the listeners, callers as usual, the themselves. I ain't staying long. I just want to say, Dominic, as I must say, good program as usual. And you know that as the year comes to a close, you know, we you know the ups and downs, you know, in the political arena. So I must say, Dominic, thanks again for another successful year, for all you have been diverging to the listening public. And I hope that people will sit down and take it and share it. Because next year, as soon as the year turns around in a few days' time, we have to really up the tempo, right? Because, you know, all these trolls and these misinformed could run out themselves in 400, right? And I must say thanks to Dr. Rowley again for the 33 years of your service to Trinidad and Tobago. And I know it will be a very hard departing from the political arena because you know all your constituents in the Gomatin West who truly love and support you, that they're going to endorse Dr. Amy Wrong when that time reach, and just hand it over in a diplomatic way, not like what they did Fitzgerald Hines, right? So thanks again, Dr. Rowley, for giving us that light in the last 10 years, and I'm hoping that the people in this country would not disappoint you in all the hard work that they would have put out in the last decade or more. Right? That is my take on it. And Dominic, you just continue doing as we inch closer and closer to the end of the year and start afresh in 2025. People, let's stay focused. Let's get the ball rolling. I ain't come to talk about Kamala because right now, them there's of a person. Right now, that old Sapaya Jagabat, only waiting for the time, right? Because she didn't be no leader, she be the prime minister. Do the prop she up there as I'm going to address in. We know who the real players is in that party. So we ain't giving them no chance to even enter or put the foot through the door of governance. Right? So that is my take on it. People have a blessed and productive week. Be safe on the nation road. And we shall see again on Tuesday morning. Dominic, good program.
Thank you so much. Right. So let's see here. So thank you so much, Eric. And well, whatever is the development with respect to that, Dr. Rowley has done very well, I find, as an MP and as a Prime Minister. So whether he goes or he stays, he has earned his plaudits. All right. So we will see how that develops. If that is in fact the case. As Jenny said, we haven't heard from the PM as yet with respect to for a confirmation, and I suppose that the Prime Minister may decide to stay low-key on that, but it's a developing story and we will see how it develops, right? What we know is that in any event, screening for those 3 seats will be coming up soon, and we will see if the Prime Minister will in fact present himself or if he will not. But if what is carried in the media here is true, I think Dr. Brown is a good choice. I endorse that. If that is in fact the case, I see. Well, they still have to the constituency of Labrie still has to find a replacement for Mr. McClatchy. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hearing Tahako because name is being bandied about, suggested as a possible. So, but needless to say, Tahaka is doing tremendous work, I think, in representing the Ministry of Trade on the African continent, and that is good. So Lake Asphalt would be setting up shop there very soon, and so that again, Trinidad and Tobago is doing well in that regard. So UNC didn't do anything with respect to promoting Lake Asphalt on the African continent or anywhere else, but we leave that there. Okay, so let me see here. All right, so I see Jenny posted something that Dr. Rowley say he would not be going for screening, or is it the media trying its best to help a weak UNC? We just recently had the cancellation of the PNM's internal elections and the media excessive and totally unnecessary daily display of confusion in their coverage of that issue. And then we had the very public display of the media trying its best to again create discord between PNM and those who support the PNM in the matter between Mr. Hines and Attorney Kareem Marcel. All attempts failed. And now we have this new issue about Dr. Rowley and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Until Dr. Rowley speak on this issue, I'm taking this with a pinch of salt. While the media is busy looking at the PNM's internal business, not a word from Rudal Munilal and the filing of his defense in the EMPD cartel-like behavior in giving out contract with Munilal as Minister of Housing at the time. So we will wait to see. All right, so folks, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. As always, say, make it productive. Keep safe on the nation's roads, please. We want you back here. We all want to go into 2025, albeit it is not our choice, but let's do what we can to preserve our own lives. Yeah. And God's willing, we will be back here on Tuesday. We will see what Bacchanal they come in with tomorrow night on the waste of time Monday night forum. That's all it's good for. When you finish there, it's just to go and open the trunk or the car, the van, the maxi or whatever, and help themselves. That's just an excuse to drink rum at that wedding night. Not that they need an excuse. So, yeah, so she come up with some dotishness again tomorrow night as well, if she able. So we'll wait to see, and then Tuesday we will touch on that, right? But let them continue with their propaganda. We will address it in the best way that we can. So, let's see what we have here. Pearl, you're most welcome. Judy Bowen, Angela. Yeah, I'll check on that thing for you, Angela. Robert Lewis says, Dr. Brown, a Diego Martin soul and a good choice if it's true. Indeed. Angela Marie Villapana says, Eric, we miss your insights, clarity, and hard work in supporting Dominic fight to bring the truth to the citizens. Yes. Margaret Matheson says, don't forget food store hustling to open for Christmas just in Gulf Link Road. Yes, Donna Seeley says, Winston was to call. We the people have to vote for the lesser of two evils. Well, at least he's on. Yeah, and I hope you know who is the lesser of the two evils. Winston. I hope you know that. Right? We ain't voting for no crook. You know, we're not voting for anybody who was an upholder of wrongdoing. A man who was accused of forcing a woman to perform oral sex on him in exchange for a house, never gave her the house, and then you come on and make him the chairman of the Superior Regional Corporation. That a man who is before the court on $1 million bail for fraud, you have him sitting in the parliament as the opposition chief whip. Miss me with that nonsense. You're on rubbish. Lesser of two evils, my foot. Right? Only one evil that I have here. Folks, we will chat again on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.